Founded in April 2012 after the tragic killing of Trayvon Martin, today we are the ones organizing Black and Brown youth to build power in our communities to advance a new vision we have for the state. Our agenda is called the Freedom Papers. Through it, we are advancing our vision of safety and security away from prisons, deportation and war, and towards healthcare, housing, jobs, and movement for all. We are the ones organizing to ensure that we live in a free democracy that is for us, by us. Our call to action is for you to join the Tallahassee Dream Defenders, one of the chapters in the state of Florida, to ensure that we are advancing our vision and a movement for all. Stay connected with our social medias and stay up to date with anything regarding Dream Defenders on our website at dreamdefenders.org. Now, the question is, can we dream together?
Greetings, and we're back. Thank you guys again for sticking with us. We are going on our fourth day, fifth day, maybe even fifth day. The days are running together of this week long forum. We have been hosting the candidate forum for those running for election here in our community. Super excited to have this conversation today. We're going to be talking with the county commissioners running for District 1, as well as the county commissioners at large. So we're looking forward to a really intriguing, interesting conversation. I want to remind you guys that the comments section is open for those who have questions. So the audience, if you all have any questions that you'd like for me to include in tonight's conversation, please go ahead and type that in. I'll try my best to get to each and every one of them. Again, thanks again for tuning in. To start off, to kick everything off, we're going to be talking with county commissioners running the candidates for county commissioners in District 1. And so joining me this evening, we'll have Terrence Barber, Ms. Donna Pearl Cotterell, and current Commissioner Bill Proctor. Surprisingly enough, didn't even know he was going to make it, and we're happy that he's here. So this conversation should be really good, super detailed. And afterwards, at 7, we will be talking with those running for county commissioners at large. So we'll get to it. We want to go ahead and just get this conversation going. So starting off today, I'm going to introduce Miss Donna Pearl Cotterell.
Good evening, Rebecca, and good evening, everyone. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm so proud of the work that Dream Defenders do, and I'm looking forward to this forum.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Joining as well is Mr. Terrence Barber.
Hello, everyone. It is such an honor and a privilege to share this platform with you all. Looking forward to further dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, we're going to add Mr. Bill Proctor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for receiving and having us. Looking forward to our discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Commissioner Proctor, Mr. Terrence Barber, and Donna Pearl Cotterell. Today, we're just going to really have a little bit different. I'm sure you guys might be tired of candidate forums by now. So it's such a big deal that you guys took the time to spend with us to really inform us of the things that you all are looking to do in our community. I'm excited. I actually did research. I found that millennials actually make up a almost half between millennials and Gen Zers, but a bigger portion of that are the millennials. So that they're big on voting. Those who are registered to vote in Tallahassee, according to the Supervisor of Elections Office, we have about 202,000 registered voters here in the city, and of that, about 60,000 is made up of millennials, and then you add a little over 40,000 to that, you have the millennials and the Gen Zers. So the young people, as much as people might think that we're not engaged, happy to say that we definitely are. And so we look forward to hearing the things that you guys have to say. I do try to make things a little bit different than the other forums, not to put pressure on time. We really just want to get an idea of who you all are and the things that you all are looking to contribute. So you might have a little bit more time than you typically would at other forums, but I do ask to still be respectful to your opponents. So if it is that you might be getting a little lengthy in your responses, I am watching and keeping time, being that we're only here for about an hour. You might see me do the little church finger, and that just means you want to wrap your point up so we can move on. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
The pleasure is mine. All right, so just to kick it off, we're gonna do as typical. We want to know, why is it that you guys took this leap of faith to just go and run? Well, Commissioner Proctor has been in the seat for a while now, so we have an idea why he's in this race. But we're interested to know why Ms. Donna Pearl, as well as you, Terrence, decided that you guys wanted to take this role. So I'll start with you, Donna. Ladies first.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Well, I have always been interested in local politics and wanting to make a difference. I didn't see any difference between the two candidates. And hence, I decided to run because I feel like I can make a difference in this community. I live in the Bond community, and I see things happening that I'm not happy with, and I know my neighbors are not happy with. And I want to be able to empower some folks so that we can make change in our community. So thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here. Terrence, your turn. Why did you want to run?
Well, I literally had no political aspirations prior to entering this race. I've been doing community work in this community where I was born and cultivated for over a decade, specifically economic development as it pertains to Black-owned businesses and Black neighborhoods. Of course, with all due respect to current Commissioner Mr. Proctor, I've watched his tenure and have absolutely garnered a certain amount of respect from Mr. Proctor. I mean, that's Bill Proctor. I mean, everybody knows Bill Proctor. I just think that there's always, a time. There's a time when even some of our greatest champions must pass the baton for up and coming leadership. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been the youngest at anything, and right now I'm the youngest candidate in this race, and I'm just looking to add some new energy, new ideas, and to be able to create a segue between everyone in this district, in this community. I'm a consensus builder. What I do very well is bring people together, and that's what I'm trying to do. I think that what our community now needs is unification. We need folks who are going to come with boots on the ground, who are working in the community of this community in order to make a change. So I think it's time.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that answer, and I understand where both of you all are coming from. So, as you can imagine, for a lot of us, we're all trying to see uh, who can definitely do the job well. I do want to remind everyone that this seat is for District One, so you may not see these candidates on your ballot if you are not a resident of District One in this county. So you want to double check if you are a fan, if you are a supporter, if you may not can't vote for these individuals that you prefer. There are other ways to support them. Their websites will be going across the bottom at some point this evening. But as well, I'm sure they will also let you know how you can follow them later. But last but not least, I do want to give Commissioner Proctor an opportunity to share because Terrence Barber kind of mentioned it. He said about you passing the baton. What are your thoughts on passing the baton? Are you ready to pass the baton, Commissioner Proctor, or no? You had to unmute yourself. I'm so sorry.
Oh, let me apologize.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm um, there's a song the church is singing. I've been running for Jesus for a mighty long time, and I'm not tired yet. I've been serving for a while, and I'm not tired yet. And I'm enthused. I'm excited to continue the work of what we've done over the years. This includes sidewalk, road widening, building project, resurfacing, underground piping and sewer, those things which paved the way for millennials to have a better county. The evolution of government is always continuing, and to synchronize and to be inclusive of different ideas, often from new generation to an existing generation, is the struggle, is the art of governing. To take finite resources and to synchronize the vision of all parts of our community. And that's something I've been trying to do for a little while.
Indeed, that's true. And thank you again for being here. We all have been very familiar with a lot of the work that you do, Commissioner Proctor. And of course, we do want to acknowledge you and thank you for that work. And so, as we continue to have this conversation, this dialogue this evening, let's kind of get into some of the plans, some of the ideas, because at the end of the day, it's never really about the individual in seat, but more about the impact that they are making. And so that's what we're more curious to know about. Who can really make that impact? And quite frankly, as a part of the millennial generation, our expectations are a lot different from a lot of the generations before us. So we are curious to know you all's perspectives and the things that you're looking to do. So let's just jump into some questioning here. Because I'm curious to know, as well as I'm sure the community would like to know, what are the things that you all are looking to do? First, you get elected. What are the top three things that's going to be first priority soon as you get into the seat? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Barber.
Yeah, of course. We have to focus on our violent crime issue. Crime has risen in District 1. We have to look at property. We have to look at the gentrification that's taking place in District 1. We have to ensure that we have the infrastructure in place to help support and sustain Black-owned businesses within our community. Then there's food. I was canvassing, walking through Providence today, and I noticed what I thought was a recycling bin. But what it was a neighbor whom had filled a recycling bin with non-perishable goods to put on the sidewalk so that people would know that if they ever needed food, that food was readily available in front of her house in this recycling bin. I think that if we look at poverty holistically and we start to attack the problems that we generally have in communities of color, of course, District 1 encompasses pretty much every community of color that's in Leon County is predominantly in District 1. I think we have to tackle poverty. And I think that the properties and things that we do as far as making sure that people can retain ownership of their properties. Right now, we have a housing shortage, but we drive through Black neighborhoods and we see empty house after empty house after empty house. Per my research and reaching out to the owners of these properties, most of them go to tax deed liens and they're auctioned off because the owners or the heirs of the property don't know the proper segue in order to garner, or retain ownership of these properties. We need to implement policy, not to mimic Alachua County, but we can learn a lot from other counties and what they've done and done well. And I think that's what effective leadership does. As we track data, we must look at other places who've done things that we may be missing the mark on and kind of reach out to those communities. Once again, building consensus, even with neighboring counties on policies that have worked. And I think that those are the three things that I would tackle first. Of course, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Nothing's going to be changed overnight. I will add that disclaimer. I mean, it took us a while to get here. It's going to take time, effort, and energy to get us out.
Thank you. And so to make sure that the people and I are following, we want to make sure we understand that you're saying that your top three things are going to be poverty, crime, and economic development. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I do have a question I'd like to ask because poverty has just been this. I feel like every candidate in every sector that I've talked to with have mentioned poverty as something to deal with. Can you kind of give us a little bit of insight of how you plan on combating poverty?
Okay, first of all, let's go back to when we went back to of course, the elephant in the room, the Doak Endowment. That we also gave $10 million to Florida A&M. We gave $1 million to my alma mater at Tallahassee Community College. So what I did was I began researching, and I also noticed that we have another college here. It's called Lively College. Imagine if we had given $1 million to Lively. How many adults could go to Lively and go to barbering school for free? How many adults can go get an HVAC certification? How many adults can go get a welding certification? If we were really being intentional about spending our tax dollars to drive economic development in Black communities. I think that until we start actively training our workforce to be better prepared for the workforce, I think that sort of economic development, that sort of economic driver in our community as it pertains to District 1, I think those are things we miss the mark on every single time. Right now, we have to stop stigmatizing other post-secondary pathways outside of institutions such as Florida State, Florida A&M. We have to create infrastructure. Once again, I'm gonna wrap it up to help sustain Black-owned businesses in Black neighborhoods. Midtowns, no different from Bond or Frenchtown, outside of the fact they have the infrastructure there to support a lifestyle where you can work, live, and play in Midtown. And that's what makes those neighborhoods so much more attractive.
Let me ask you another quick question. Bear with me, guys. I'm coming to
Take
you.
your time.
But so because I understand that education would definitely contribute to poverty, but how would you deal with it if you are implementing these programs giving access to education but people aren't taking it serious? Would you say that you are very familiar with the people in the community?
Absolutely. 41 years in this community. My family, we owned the indoor flea market on the south side, the first and only indoor flea market. I saw what it looked like when Black businesses worked together. I saw what it looked like. We recreated Frenchtown, the business hub at Frenchtown Rising, each and every Friday prior to FAMU home games. We lined Macomb Street with
Right.
Black owned businesses and add entertainment. We create an atmosphere that is historic. That is what you call Frenchtown. We have these things called the Frenchtown revitalization. You can't revitalize a business hub that was torn down and replaced with government buildings. There's no such
I,
thing as that.
I won't take that away from you. I think we all are aware of the work that you and your family have done in regards to stimulating opportunities for
Mhm.
Black businesses. We can't forget Working Class Wednesday. So we definitely
Absolutely.
we definitely can say that we've seen your work in that regard. But I'm curious about education, because you mentioned to deal with the poverty problem,
Mhm.
you would, and
Better
correct
train a
me if
workforce.
correct me if I'm wrong. So that's what I understood, that you would try to create access for them to be educated. But in an ADHD society that we live in now, do you believe people would really receive access to want to learn and actually appreciate that work?
Absolutely. Vocational training, working with our hands. I think that that will always be a segue. Even back when I was in high school, my father owned a drywall company. I'll just put this out there. He owned a
Mhm.
drywall company. He taught my brothers and I how to finish drywall.
Yeah.
That's still a trade. My father passed in 2007. My brother and I still own and operate his company. We have to train our children that not only can you learn this trade, but with the right education and training, you can then become an employer and
Mhm.
train other people under your tutelage to also learn this trade. Right now, we do very well in the drywall industry, and
Mhm.
I'm afforded to be able to be on forums like this while I have a drywall job going simultaneously because of that training that I received from my father. So do I think that? Yes. I was down at King of Diamonds Auto Spa yesterday, and I was talking to the young Black kids about how did they end up working here. They said because Mr. Lynn saw us walking to the store, he offered us a job. These kids seek opportunity. The little kids on the corner of Railroad and Gaines Street, I stopped and I talked to them, and I learned that they walk all the way from Joe Louis, Springfield Apartments, all the way over there with cases of water seeking opportunity. These
Mhm.
kids will work. These young millennials will work. I understand the stigma, this ADHD, this microwave generation that we're in. But I also understand that when they see people like me who've lived through this same exact experience, and I'm letting them know, like, these are the things you're going to look to when you need to fall forward. I never tell folks to fall backwards because I fall forward. You can
Mhm.
always fall forward on these skilled trades and education that nobody can ever take.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
If
that.
if that answers your question.
It did, and I really appreciate you taking the
Yes,
time to
ma'am.
elaborate that way. I
Absolutely.
kind of want to take that over to you, Miss Donna Cotterell, because I mean, he kind of said a lot about the avenue he would take if he was elected. So do you think that you have your preferences in somewhere else? And I'll remind you what the question is, which is your top 3 things that you would do soon as you come in office. And just to help engagement, guys, please forgive me. I'm just gonna zoom in the camera so it'll just be me and her on stage right now.
Thank you for the question, Rebecca. I am very interested in making sure that we have secure, affordable housing. That would be my top one. I live in a community that's being gentrified as we speak. I have watched other neighborhoods where Black people have been pushed out of low income housing and have it's made it difficult for them to find similar housing stock that they came from. It's actually worse than where they came from. And in Pinellas County, they use their regressive penny tax, the same penny tax we pour into for Blueprint. They use theirs to help create affordable housing. That's something we could have done. The second thing is developing our small businesses, but our cottage industry businesses, maybe not a brick and mortar, but like somebody might like to make soaps or candles or bake cookies or make lollipops or popcorn and have that economic vitality that was supposed to come from our Blueprint dollars to stimulate the economy within our community, and then have those folks who have cottage industry businesses sell to brick and mortar businesses. So that way we have the dollars circulating within the community and not going outside the community. The third thing is literacy. As a former middle school teacher, I'm very much appalled at our literacy rate. Is about less than 70% of the children who are graduating from high school are reading on grade level. That's a huge concern, because if you don't know how to read, they're actually building prisons based on third grade reading scores. Because up to third grade, you're learning to read. After third grade, you're reading to learn. If you have not learned to read, then anything that comes after that is going to be a challenge. I've met men in prison. I worked at the Gadsden Reentry Center who were reading on a first and second grade reading level and didn't see the correlation as to how they ended up in prison. But we know when we were formerly enslaved, they didn't allow us to read. It was illegal, and people could be killed for teaching us how to read. So it's very important for us to have a literate community. To have a literate community means we have a wealthier community, because those who have the knowledge and know how to use their hands, as Terrence said, or to create things, will be able to navigate their lives a lot better than if they didn't have that education. So those are my top 3 things.
Okay, so I actually only got 2. So I got affordable housing, literacy, and what were you talking when you were talking about the farmers market? So economic development a little bit.
Well, I was saying in terms of the local business, we have a lot of talented people who have small businesses, and a lot of them are not brick and mortar businesses. But if we can stimulate them in such a way that they can provide their goods and services to other businesses, then we're circulating the dollars within the community. It's a business to business economic vitality, which means that instead of them, having to go to the farmers market to sell their wares and goods, they could have a dedicated few brick and mortar store locations where they're providing their goods. So they're actually selling.
As District 1 Commissioner, let's just say for literacy, dealing with the education level in that district, where would you start?
Well, I've actually reached out to a group that is working with the parks and the libraries. So what they're doing is they're creating trails in the parks, and I'm trying to get them to do one at Jack McLean and work with B.L. Perry Library on the south side. So the kids would have the books at B.L. Perry, and then they would match up with stories that are on the trail. Because one of the things that I've learned is that kids learn better by doing. So it's more than just reading, it's active listening as well as and kinesthetic. They're walking, through the park and reading these stories and tying them in with benches and other ornaments that are in correlation with the books that they're reading.
Okay. And then in terms of affordable housing, where do you see that being done in District 1?
Well, I'm seeing what they call saddlebag houses, double shotgun houses or shotgun shacks. And there's some beautiful housing stock here that's vacant. Whether or not they can be renovated, remains to be seen. But if we were able to renovate them, one of the examples I use is in Martha's Vineyard. There is housing stock where the maids used to live, the Black maids who served the folks in the community. And what they did was they turned them into what they call gingerbread houses. So they painted them beautiful candy-coated colors, and they become a tourist attraction. People actually come from miles around, excuse me, to see these homes. I mean, we have so many beautiful homes, vacant homes, that could be renovated. If they can't be renovated, there are container homes. I've mentioned this several times. You can buy a trailer bed container for $6,500 that comes equipped with an HVAC system and a door. And then you can dress it out any way you want. But imagine if you did have a family lot where you had to get the home torn down, you could put your container home on that lot and then build it out to the home for you and your family, that you could enjoy.
So these homes that you're considering, they would be used with county dollars? And basically
I'm looking at federal funding, grant funding that the county can access, because I know that the budget has already been set for this year. So it wouldn't be able to happen for another year. But in the meantime, we can seek federal funding. There are a lot of dollars out there, especially for housing stability right now.
And managed by the housing department, Tallahassee Housing Department?
Well, not by Tallahassee Housing, by the county. A program created by the county for the county. And I would love to partner with the city and create a comprehensive plan where we're working together. I think that is the goal, is to have the county and the city working together on the housing
And these
crisis.
homes would be in District 1, is that right?
In District 1 for sure. We have, like I said, so many vacant lots and vacant homes that could be rehabbed in District 1.
Okay. All right. So everyone that's now tuning in, I'm talking with Ms. Donna Pearl Cotterell. She's running for County Commissioner District 1. Her alongside Terrence Barber. They're both running for this seat, trying to replace Commissioner Bill Proctor. It's probably not the best way to say it, but they feel that they have a lot to offer to the seat that they have not seen being done. So if there's anything that y'all want me to add to this conversation, feel free to let me know. We are here we have some time. So please just join in this conversation. We are very curious to know what changes they think that they can bring other than what Commissioner Proctor has. So with that said, I do want to take the conversation over to Commissioner Proctor, because I mean, Commissioner Proctor, these both Terrence and Miss Cotterell both had a lot of ideas, and they showed like they had done a lot of research to do this work. But I'm curious to know, the things that they're bringing, these are things that we've been knowing is a problem long before they even came to the scene. So the fact that they feel it's not being done, maybe it's a new problem. I mean, it there are reasons, but to you, I'd like to know, Commissioner Proctor, is why do you think that that's something that they can do and you can't, if you aren't already? And if you are, please share.
Well, I respect their visions of themselves. They know what they view as their assets to do and implement the things that they want to do. I can neither confirm nor deny what they say is their vision. I can only validate and tell you over time that over $1 billion has been brought to District 1 through my leadership of the time I've served.
$1 billion or $1 million?
I said $1 billion. And if you've
billion.
never seen $1 billion bill, I'm one. You see it. You see me.
Yes, sir.
You want to know what first we want to do. And I want the community to know through this forum tonight that on October 1, I have led the effort for a $15 minimum wage for Leon County, which sets us about 4 or 5 years in front of the state mandate of 2026, I believe, for a minimum wage of $15. Inflation calls for immediate action. Mr. Barber's aware, he was in chambers sometimes and noted the leadership that I gave there. Additionally, I have asked and secured for our workers, employees, a 5% across the board increase immediate October 1. So I'm on the job working for our employees who do a good job. I believe the first thing that I have to do is focus on the new federal monies voted on Saturday night by the Senate of the United States, the new Inflation Reduction Act, which the House of Representatives is expected to vote on Friday. There are billions of dollars that will be coming down, in addition to transportation dollars from Mr. Buttigieg. Now, when you talk about a Bill Proctor, there is no commissioner who's ever served with the institutional knowledge that I bring. I work as a staff assistant to U.S. Senator Bob Graham. I work as a special assistant to Governor Lawton Child. And I have worked at the local level, not only federal, state, but local, at Leon County for a minute or two. I believe the second thing most important, after we look at the new dollars, the new money, of which I'm prepared to evaluate, to understand, and have money for our county. Crawfordville Road is wide now because single-handedly I had the wherewithal and understanding and the comparative spirit to go get that money from the federal government to widen Crawfordville Road. I was in a 11-1 vote. It didn't matter. I went outside. But when you have those skill sets, which I hold, you can get these things done. I believe that Florida State and FAMU have got to be institutionally involved and later engaged in dealing with the issues of poverty. And 32304, of which this Thursday I invite all of you to come to the 5th Summit that will be at Turnbull Center beginning at 9:30 to 12. That here again, since 2019, I have coalesced information and data to say to our community, we have issues in 32304, and I've led the charge, so much so that half the candidates running for public office now see that poverty is one of the leading issues of which we have to tackle. That's called leadership. In addition to Title I schools, of which I focus most because they're in District 1, I believe there has to be parental engagement, and I will be supporting our school board member, Darrell Jones, and chairman, and in particular his call and quest to establish vocational education. We need that in the South Side. We need that established for the careers and the opportunities that Mr. Barber has lifted up. And I want you to know everything Mr. Barber mentioned, of which his family has done, from the flea market to the microloan program to what they do on Fridays before the FAMU games. I have supplied money, votes, and supported with thousands of dollars everything that he and his family have been able to do. So in terms of my backing of the chambers and the COVID experience was awesome for how we synchronized and created new systems to distribute dollars. The new microloan program that's at FAMU that the county gave $1 million, $2 million to, $3 million now. I have been behind and led the charge. So I'm not just out here talking, but I'm walking the talk and have done it for a mighty long time. And very proud of all of these things collectively. And I want to say the next issues to answer the question is that annexation of Southside properties where people are on city utilities, but they're not annexed and cannot vote for the mayor. They cannot vote in those other city races, but they're paying city taxes through their utilities. This is called voter suppression. In addition, when you're not annexed down there, Black people are required to put their sewer in their backyards, and they pay $350 to clean it out. And that is not right when the sewer plant is directly across the street from many of these people live. That is a very important issue, and I'm going to be on it like Black. That's okay, like white on right. How about that? So, information to your ask, what I will continue to do. Those Lake Munson cleanup, which I met with a group this morning, dealing with that, the pipes, the sewer, that's a struggle that continues. So I'm fully engaged, fully prepared, and I'm looking forward to continuing my representation of the citizens of District 1. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I have to I'm going to go and say for myself, I have definitely seen the advocacy work that you have done, Commissioner Proctor. And honestly, I feel for a lot of people in District 1, they're going to have a challenge because they have really 3 strong candidates that's coming from 3 different areas that really can bring change. It's true, Terrence Barber does do a lot to bring fresh air. He's definitely seen a lot in the community, but it's also true. Commissioner Proctor is an advocate. I've seen him in himself at commissioner meetings, being a voice, challenging those who have not been taking the residents of District 1 serious. So you guys, I feel for you guys. I pray that you would just do your research, just to see in what ways benefit your lives, because it's true. It's important, especially nowadays, with so many laws created to make life challenging, especially for the Black and brown people, that you need a strong voice that's going to challenge a lot of the stuff that is happening. And we believe that you all have that strength, that confidence to do it. And as Commissioner Proctor said, he gave us a report card just about of a lot of the work that he has done, and with proof of stuff that he has done to get it done. So I kind of want to just spin the conversation a little bit. So we're kind of towards the last end, and Lord knows I don't know why we planned for, with Terrence Barber and Commissioner Proctor, a 1 hour forum, but we tried to be fair to all the candidates, and depending on how many people are in your section, that's how we allotted the time, because it's already been, I think that we were on our 4th day or 5th day now of this forum, and so trying to have consideration for the team on the back end, and of course the community. They probably don't want to hear us all day every day, but I do want to kind of jump into what I call it's kind of a lightning round. This is where more traditional forum style, we do a minute long. I have a timer here, so you will hear the beep when your time is up. But I do want to ask you all some more direct questions, looking for some direct answers. And these questions are related to things, current policies and situations that are pressing in our communities today. And so I'll ask the question, I'll say who goes, and then the timer will start giving you 60 seconds to respond. So the first question is going to go, it's going to deal with, this is a general question about the actual position. So Terrence Barber, I'd like to know, why District 1? Why did you run for District 1? You're muted. I'm sorry. I'll start the time over. There you go.
Yeah, I grew up in the Frenchtown area. I inherited my property from my father back in 2007. And just like Mr. Proctor said, in 2007, we were not allowed to vote in city elections. I've come to find out, of course, I was much younger then. We still have septic tanks. We still have well water. We don't have access to certain amenities in the urban service area that I think have been afforded to places far further away from the source. And I think that historically District 1 has been a drainage ditch for the rest of the county. And I think that now that it's begun so bad that we have all these implementations of policies to clean it up, but why over your watch did you allow it to get like this? And like, with all due respect, I just think that it's time to go in a different direction. And once I'm elected, we'll implement policies. We'll get the community together, and we'll make sure that District 1 is afforded the same amenities that other parts of this county are afforded. And that's my main goal.
Okay. Same question to you. Oh, right on time. Miss Donna Cotterell.
Thank you for the question, Rebecca. I love my neighborhood. I love Bond. I moved here about 4 years ago, and unfortunately, I saw the gentrification happening not too long after I moved here. There are families here. There are children here. I live right down the street from Bond Elementary. We have a bad reputation here because of the crime, because of the poverty. However, I see so much potential, and I want to be an aid to my neighbors. And I want to make sure that we're not pushed out of our neighborhoods, because 86% of the people who live in Bond are renters. And we know what happens when gentrification comes in, the rent goes up, and then people can't afford to live here anymore. And then before you know it, we are increasing our crime and poverty because we're displacing folks. So before we get to that point, I want to be a source for information to help folks to retain the places that they live, and perhaps be able to purchase homes in this neighborhood, because we know ownership and pride in ownership makes a big difference in reducing crime. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, Commissioner Proctor, your question is a bit different because we know you've been in District 1, so no sense of asking why District 1. But I'm curious to know, in regards to how you see District 1, despite the challenges that was previously mentioned, how do you see District 1 in the next 5 years? What kind of community do you see?
District 1 has got to reimagine its alignment of thought with some of the changes that are evolving, such as Ms. Donna Pearl has mentioned. There is nothing the county commission can do per se to stop gentrification. For instance, my family gets called from out of town every week with monies from 305, 954, California, Northern United States, dangling money in front of our families. This is called capitalism. And when folks get more money offered than what their property is valued, and they cannot access money from our banks, a lot of people will be moving. There is nothing illegal about that. It's the forces of capitalism and money. I believe that the mindset.
Yes, sir. You there?
I heard the bell ringing. I didn't want to be rude.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I'll let you wrap your thought up. Go ahead. You believe the mindset.
Impact for Black people takes time. Mr. Barber acts like he has a magic wand to get 3 votes. The mindset of racism, classism, and the disrespect of the South Side existed before I got there. That airport was down there. That sewage treatment plant was down there. That water runs down there. It has occurred since I was a little boy. I have tried to change your mindset, of which the city and the county, most of these issues that they're bringing up are city commission issues. But I have worked feverishly and have challenged any and everybody about the value and worth of respect on the South Side, and that we're not that dumping ground. And Barber nor Ms. Pearl has nothing greater on the command of or the respect that I've devised over the years with our commission. There's been nothing but fight. Pull your paper, Google the newspapers, and see the scraps, see the fight. Mr. Barber, you've not stood up, and I'm not sure you got that stand-up ability to fights I've been in over and over, sustained over time. And I still got the drive, but I don't have to defend that. The record speaks for itself. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Barber, if it's only fair, I'll allow you to respond.
I will only respond by saying, with all due respect, Mr. Proctor, you will get each and every opportunity to see how much fight Mr. Barber has. Thank you.
Understood. Next question I'd like to ask is actually going to go to Mr. Barber. So how do you see Tallahassee, or excuse me, District 1 in the next 5 years?
Well, I think that first we got to point out the fact that dreams without goals are simply dreams. I think that Mr. Proctor does have dreams of what District 1 could look like. And I think that we have not effectively set goals in the last almost 28 years in order to create what Mr. Proctor envisions. I think that 28 years, to say that what I have not gotten done in 28 years, or the lack of consensus building with constituents, it doesn't have to be a fight. I think that a conversation, I understand the Sunshine Law, and I understand that bringing people together to move us all forward may be a daunting task for some. But I think that although my oratorical skills may be subpar to Mr. Proctor, what I do very well is build consensus with my constituents. And I think that right now what we don't need another fight. We don't need another fight. I think that right now what we need to do is we need to sit down as one community, as one county, and delegate what will be done. Maybe a discernment with a budget by district to show how funds are being allocated. I understand that Mr. Proctor says that over the last 28 years, he's brought $1 billion worth of infrastructure. Oh, I'm sorry, did I talk past the bell?
Well, it wasn't that. I just wanted to make sure you didn't miss the question, because you was almost out of time, which is you paint a picture to us of what District 1 would look like in 5 years under your leadership.
Right, and I think that's a hard question to answer. You never want to overpromise and underdeliver. Of course, I can give you a good sermon about sunshine and no rain in District 1, but District 1 has some issues, and I think that everyone on this panel can agree to that. What I can say is we'll be moving in the right direction. I think that in 5 years we have implemented policy to ward off air properties, families losing their property. Sorry.
But thank you, and I completely understand. Last but not least, let me go, Ms. Cotterill. In 5 years, do you have a vision of what you see District 1 looking like different, if you do have any different from what it looks like today?
Absolutely. I have a vision for greater access to the arts for our youth. I have a vision for not just affordable housing, but folks owning their homes and being able to beautify the neighborhood. All it takes is a flower pot on front of a stoop that will beautify, but also to have businesses where people are empowered using their own skills and talent, where we have affordable childcare so that moms who are working can afford to go to work because they have access to child. I'm not sure if you can mute Mr. Barber, but I'm getting some feedback. Thank you. So yeah, I have a excuse me, a vision of a healthier, stronger District 1, starting with Bond, where I live. Thank you.
And thank you for that. I have another question I'd like to ask, and this goes to the neighborhood of District. That was Miss Cotterell's timing. So thank you for finishing before time.
My pleasure.
So in District 1, there is definitely issues where we've noticed crime. We have noticed where there has been some challenge in the educational, or if with education. I think the schools actually have been doing really well. NIMS, under the leadership of Dr. Bolden, they have really been working hard to turn things around over there, and it has been flooding for the whole community to see. So, we're very proud to see all the work that they are doing over there. So it seems a lot of traction is being made, and I hear from Commissioner Proctor, although that there is a lot of work that has to be done, that we should not forget a lot of the work that needed to be done before now that he was able to do under his leadership. So really, I just kind of want to bring the point in. I don't want to forget a question. I have a question from the community that wanted me to ask. This question actually goes to Mr. Barber. Mr. Barber, there's a lot of people who has concern, or I guess, what would you say to the person who says, you were on social media, have been on social media, and it's been noted to attack the South Side area, but now that you're running, you want to represent the South Side area. You also mentioned in this conversation that you grew up in the Frenchtown area. So for the person who feels conflicted or kind of challenges your decision to want to represent the South Side area, what would you say to them?
You said social media where I talked about the South Side area.
Yeah.
Can you explain that fact? I'm trying. I want to respond to what.
So on this, in the South Side, and this was a post that was made. I'm sorry, probably would have been best if we had a screenshot of it. But in the past, where they were challenged, the South Side area was challenged because of the way that the residents were, and how they lived on the South Side. So anyone who has concern
I don't.
about,
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
okay.
We've owned and I've owned and operated businesses on the South Side. My property is on the South Side. I live on. I'm absolutely unsure at the question, and without you being able to reference what the question pertains to, I'm not sure how I would be able to give an educated answer. I do know that I have family that lives all over this district, all over this community. So if I was to reference someone on the South Side, I'd be talking about the droves of cousins that I have living in Appalachian Ridge or Ridge Road. I've never been demeaning to my own community. Have I said that we don't have healthy food options on the South Side? Absolutely. Have I said that we don't have infrastructure to support Black-owned businesses on the South Side? Absolutely. But as far as me demeaning my community that has grown and cultivated me, I have absolutely no idea what post that would be pertaining to, but I wish maybe you could allow me to respond.
I don't track Facebook pages, so I can't just to honestly sit here and say I'm gonna go look for it. I wouldn't even be telling you the truth. That was just a question brought up to me. I said, okay, I'll ask. But fair enough. I do appreciate your response, and that is fair. With us not being able to show you what that post is, if you don't know, that's completely understood. But just so that we all know, so we are. I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate. This is District 1 that we are talking to those candidates running for District 1 County Commission. And so we're just wanting to get an idea of the plans and ideas that they have for the community. I'm going to just do a brief overview, guys, and feel free to interrupt me if I miss anything. But Terrence Barber, his interest is to come into District 1 and to help combat poverty, crime, and the economic development. He's shown his efforts in doing so by offering opportunities for businesses, specifically minority businesses, to have a platform to promote their services. And he wants to continue to do that to deal with the issues of poverty. And through poverty, wants to make it accessible for people of the District 1 community to have access to education. We also have Miss Donna Cotterill, who has mentioned that her focus is around affordable housing, literacy, and small businesses, helping those who don't have a brick and mortar buildings to still be able to gain support and momentum for their businesses. So if any of these things sound interesting to you, I highly encourage that you would pursue their individual campaigns and continue to contact them and support them. Last but not least, I want to acknowledge our incumbent Commissioner Bill Proctor, who has served in his role over 20 years, over 2 decades, and is currently being challenged, but he is confident in the work that he has done, the track record he has proven in mandating that minimum wage of $15 an hour, increasing the salary of state workers, and being a heavy advocate for so many of the issues, including the dirty sewage water that is violating the residents of District 1. He is confident that he will be able to bring a lot of the support and the change that is needed. So as you all are deciding who you're going to vote for, especially those who live in District 1, we definitely want you to look a little deeper, see who you can connect with, who you can support. These candidates are putting a lot into their campaigns, and any support that they can get, they're definitely grateful for. Did I miss anything, guys?
No, ma'am. I was not able to access the comments, so I couldn't post my link for my
That's right.
website.
Let me help out with that. I think I have it here. Yep. Okay, so let me go ahead and put that in there. And guys, everyone else, I highly encourage you guys to. I saw that you, Terrence, also put some of your information in there. So I don't want to.
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
want you to forget. I want you to also put yours in the comments, not the private chat. That's for us in backstage. So you want to get your stuff in the comments so that the people of the community can get your information as well. Support, guys. It's important that we are involved in this election race, not just this year but next year. I want to remind you that the votes, these positions are every 4 years. So whoever gets in office will hold their seat for 4 years. So it's important we get someone who will be able to impact, at least for you, you get someone that will impact in the area of which you too as a resident can contribute. And last but not least, I do want to say I'm going to give you all an opportunity to appeal to the community for a minute each. But before I get a chance to do that, I want to say to you, as I say to all the candidates that run, that, I hope that your servitude is not limited to this election. The very fact that you all took the initiative to want to run for office, it speaks big about your heart for the community, the heart to help others. And I hope that it doesn't stop here, regardless of what happened in this election, that you continue to serve in this community and find people who support you. I'm happy you guys are doing this. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us, Rebecca. I don't know if you want us to go in alphabetical order to close out.
Yeah, I actually, that's actually a great idea. So I'm gonna let you go first, Miss Cotterill. Oh no, Mr. Barber. Sorry. I'm going to let you go first. You'll get 60 seconds to speak to the community. Then Mr. Cotterill, and last but not least, Commissioner Proctor for a minute. And then, guys, we're going to take it to the next seat because I can see behind scenes that we definitely have a full house here. We have the commissioners at large that's running for office, and they're very eager to share with you guys why they can contribute to change, which we're looking forward to that conversation as well. And guys, feel free to stay tuned if you want to stay after to watch that too. All right, I'm sorry, Miss. Look at that. I'm speaking it. Am I speaking?
Speaking.
I'm sorry.
Well, listen,
No,
I
this
like to first, I like to first thank you all for the opportunity to share, and also thank you to Ms. Cotterill and Mr. Proctor. It takes courage. It takes courage to put your name out there. It takes courage. I think that it takes courage growing up in this community and for God to ordain yourself into leadership and to answer that call. It takes courage. As Mr. Proctor said, my grandmother had a favorite song. She was saying, a charge to keep I have. And I think that right now, with the trajectory of all the things that we are doing, well within my organization and everything else that we are doing and pushing for the South Side and Frenchtown, and even meeting with folks out in Woodville, we are ready to pick up this baton. We are ready to run this race. We are ready to evoke actual change within our communities. And I look forward to working with anyone who's willing to work towards this progress. I don't want to go over my time. I don't see a timer. I don't want to get the bell rung on me. But if my website is barberforleon.com, I'm on Lake Bradford Road at my campaign office pretty much every day to make myself accessible to the community. That won't change after I'm elected. I will always be accessible to the community I serve right here in the heart of District 1. And I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I look forward to further dialogue on my website. You can enter a chat box where you can set up a meeting with myself, and I'll be more than happy to meet with you and listen to your concerns. We have two ears and one mouth. We can't always be a clear voice. Sometimes we have to listen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good, because I lost my own screen. Okay. But thank you for being here, Commissioner Barber. Why do I keep saying that? Mr. Barber, Commissioner Proctor is still our commissioner. And he's right, he stopped right on time. All right, Mr. Proctor. Up next is actually Mrs. Cotterill. So you're next. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you both to Commissioner Proctor and Mr. Barber. And thank you, Commissioner Proctor, for your years of service. I deeply respect you for that. And really looking forward to having the opportunity to further and deepen the work in District 1, making it a stronger, better community through increasing the opportunity for affordable housing, increasing literacy in our community, increasing opportunities for small businesses to grow and to thrive, and also helping my neighbors to stay in their homes so that we in the Bond community stay a Black community. Bond was built as a historically Black community when factories came into the area so that folks could walk to work. So we have a strong tradition here, and I would hate to see that history lost. And I also have my own family history and heritage that goes back 5 generations. My great-great-grandfather, Prince Griffin, we still have land in Leon County in his name that my grandma held on to. On my dad's side, my dad was the third person to desegregate the buses. He's my biggest cheerleader and champion, even though he's not here. He was the first police chief of Midway. My mom, Ethel Pearl, who's on my, I think it's my right shoulder, my left shoulder, and my dad's on my right. My mom, Ethel Pearl, is my inspiration. My middle name is Pearl, and this pearl has come out of her shell. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, your organizations who come together for this wonderful forum. I teach at Florida University, and one of the good things about me teaching in political science is that over the last 20 years, students across the campus have ranked me in the top 5% of instructors according to student evaluation. That's quite a feat that my relationship interaction with young people, your respect for my mind has been well established as one of our great teachers at FAMU. I pastor a church. I've done so since a long time now, and I don't mind standing up for the Lord. I do that, and I've been a commissioner, and I've done that very well. The microloan programs that we've seen, the development of our chambers, but the most important thing of all is the sense of expectation. And citizens on the South Side expect now for their government to respect them, to provide services for them. And I just can't tell you the quantum leap forward from 1996 when I came to office, how we were looked at, how we were marginalized, but it's been through the consistent voicing, vocalization in all sectors that we now have so many of us who believe that they are entitled to service, in which they are. I'm very, very grateful for that. So thanking you all, hearing that the buzzer has sounded, encourage you to go to the polls and vote for the clear voice. And I anticipate and look forward to a favorable response this one. And in the words of Al Green, let's stay together. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks again for being here. I wish you all well in your campaign. If there's anything that y'all need help professionally to do, unfortunately, we are a nonpartisan organization, so we don't endorse candidates. But if there's anything in the professional world that you might need help with, of course, you can always contact Community Builders. And thanks again for being here this evening. I wish you all a great night.
Thank you. You too, Rebecca. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Let's go, District 1.
Oh, thanks for bearing with me. I'm like, waiting. Well, thank you everybody for being here, for tuning in. I'm super excited for this next segment. We are a little bit behind, but we're actually going to get right on into it. I do have some messages that I have from our supporters, so I don't want to forget about them. But thank you guys for being here. This conversation has been very interesting, just to kind of hear their perspectives. A lot of times we kind of, feel a bit iffy from our politicians, but it's good to know that our politicians, at least on this level, are our neighbors. There are people who we see the work they do, and they're not just here selling us on ideas. So that's probably my favorite part about these segments. Next up, we're going to be talking with the candidates running for commissioner at large. This segment, these candidates is actually challenging the current county commissioner at large, Nick Maddox. Nick Maddox has held his seat for many, many years and has been very involved in the community in so many ways. His wife also has a local small business here in town. And so we're very curious to know in what ways his opponents feel that they will bring something different. I know a lot of times the county commissioners, their votes are only limited to the people in their particular district, but the county at large is actually open to the entire city. So they have a lot more impact that they can do for our community, and we're very curious to hear about them in just a few. But I hope that you will just take a moment to listen to some of the messages from our local businesses and organizations. Community Builders, of course, is one. We are here in town, but instead of me just bragging and talking about the work we do, I'll just let you watch the videos. Thanks for being here.
side said we're too radical. Because we believe everybody should have access to health care.
Because we think one job should be enough to pay your bills. Because no one's future should be determined by a zip code.
We're called too radical because
we don't want to be shot dead by police.
Because we believe making a profit out of caging people is wrong.
We're too radical because we want our public schools funded. Because we want to learn our true history.
They call us radical because we think voting is a basic human right.
Because we were born to immigrant parents.
Because we are immigrants.
They say we're too radical because we want an end to war.
We want to be safe.
Because we want to be free. And if wanting basic rights makes us too radical,
I'll be that.
All right, and we are back. We are here at our last segment of the evening. I'll be introducing the county commissioners at large. Sheesh, I've covered every commissioner, city commissioner, county commissioner this week. Trying to keep up with the difference is going to be a little bit challenging, but bear with me. So today we will be talking with the county candidates for county commissioner at large, and introducing. I'm going to go ahead and just bring them on one by one. I hope y'all are ready backstage. Josh Johnson, Miss Nikki Zumbo, Mr. Rudy Ferguson, and also our incumbent, Mr. Nick Maddox. I'm going to go in that order, guys. I hope y'all are ready. But first coming to the stage, we have Mr. Josh Johnson. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Welcome. It doesn't look like Ms. Zumbo is ready just yet. So let me add Mr. Rudy Ferguson. Hello.
How you doing? Good to see you, Ms. Joseph.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. And Mr. Nick Maddox. There we go. Welcome.
How you doing today? Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Ms. Zumbo, there she goes. Okay, last but not least, here we go.
Hi,
Everyone's here. Hi, Ms. Zumbo. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm super happy. Thank you. So we're going to jump right on in it because I'm so sorry to start on CP time. I feel comfortable saying that because I am CP. But we've been doing good this week. But I don't know. This week we tried to make it fair and try to get the time as much compact as possible, depending on the number of people. But last minute, Commissioner Proctor joined on literally last minute, like right before we started. So we definitely wanted to give him that privilege, being that he was incumbent. We wanted him to be able to, preserve his seat and say his spill, which I think is fair. So it ran over a little bit, but that's okay. We're more so interested in hearing what y'all have to say, because nowadays, more than any day before, who we vote for matters more than ever. So if you're going to be on the ballot, we want to hear from you. And I hope that tonight we'll be able to get a clear understanding of what you all have to say as well. So I want to just go ahead and go around the screen and give you all an opportunity to address the community. Let us know who you are and why you made the decision to run in this season. Mr. Josh Johnson, I'll let you go first.
Perfect. Thank you guys for having me, first of all, and thank you for all of my opponents and friends for being here. It's always fun when we can hash out issues and talk. My name is Josh Johnson. I am a local educator. I teach high school and college level classes through Godby High School and TCC. I'm also a small business owner. I'm also the president and steward of one of Tallahassee's oldest and largest contemporary art galleries. North Florida is really in the 621 Art Gallery. And I'm a 7th generation Leon Countian. And so the reason that I am running is because I think that the trajectory of the county is at a point where we go one way, we can continue going into bad land use deals, bad public investment deals, the lack of affordable housing, non-undergirded workforce, small businesses that are struggling, exacerbated by crawling out of a pandemic, quite possibly crawling back into another one. And so I think that it's really time that we take a fiscal perspective on the county commission, a social perspective on the county commission. And I have been the candidate, and I believe that I will continue being the candidate that will push those things forward. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Mr. Rudy Ferguson, why did you decide to run this year? I'm sure a lot of people, I was surprised. I said, Mr. Ferguson, he's stepping out today.
Well, Ms. Jones, we've had a long working relationship for many years in our community. And I felt that it was necessary for leadership, for integrity, for accountability, for transparency. As a community activist and a community leader for the better part of 30 years, and I'm 51 now. And I'm proud to say that I'm the oldest, but nevertheless the more seasoned, because I've seen a lot of the changes occur throughout our communities throughout these 30 years. And I believe that I possess the necessary skills. I'm a consensus builder. I know how to reach across the house to build the necessary things that we need in our community. Of course, I appreciate all the things, all of our candidates and even our incumbent. But I believe now it's time for a change that will really occur when you have new leadership in the chair. This doesn't go to say as apply to anyone in particular, but more so is that I've been girding myself for this position for many years. And I believe that this is the time, this is the season to make the necessary changes that we see. It's one thing to be a pastor and a community activist at the same time. And I became a community activist long before I became a pastor. And becoming a pastor only gave me the necessary stage in order to make my voice more clearer and louder in that endeavor. I believe that this is the time, this is the season to bring those things to bear. You've seen my work, you've heard my voice, you've seen my mission. You know what I can do, you know what I will do. And I think that's so important to understand now. You need a community servant, a servant leader, who you have seen, who you have heard. You know their work, you know their platform in which they use always. So I just didn't start doing this as a candidate. I didn't put my name in the hat and just started showing up to meetings. I've been showing up to meetings for a better part of 30 years. I just found this opportunity to be the right time and the right season to make that voice heard and to make that necessary change. I'll be able to do this just what I plan to do. And my motto is serving the people's interests. And so again, I do appreciate the opportunity. And I hope that my past work, I hope that my endeavors that you've seen, that you've heard, will push me to that certain platform where I need to be, where I can affect policies that will come along with necessary change that we need in our community. Again, thank you so much, Ms. Georgia, for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, the pleasure is mine for all of you guys. Last but not least, wait, did I hear from you, Ms. Zimbo? We didn't do you yet, did we? Okay, before we get to you, Commissioner Maddox, let's let Ms. Nikki Zumbo go. Please, if you can share with the community what led you to running, and a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely, and I have no issues going last ever, given my last name, so that wouldn't have been a problem. But thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure getting to know the candidates, getting to know the outcries from our community that of help. So from early on when I moved here, I was a student. I was looking for a degree, and I came to really love this place. I invested myself in the community. I took a job where I was a community representative, which I had some previous history doing in other cities. And I really got to understand who the residents of Leon County are and what they're looking for, what makes them happy, what makes them want to stay, what that economic vitality really sounds like. So I decided to run for office because it's something that I'd wanted to do from a young age. I wanted to represent voters and be a resource for people. my friends joke, they tell me, they're like, you're such a wealth of knowledge. And I'm like, well, I've learned a lot because I've paid a lot of attention. I've listened, I've observed. And I want to bring that skill set to this commission so that we can make this place a better place to live and a place where people want to stay and raise their families and don't struggle doing that. So I decided to run for office because it's the right thing to do. It's time to have a millennial who's on that Gen Z cusp start voicing their opinions and having that voice heard on behalf of their community.
Thank you for that. And yes, okay, millennial Gen Zer. I caught the energy. I caught the energy. All right, last but not least, for sure, incumbent Commissioner Nick Maddox, please.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to be here. This is a great opportunity for us to speak and talk about the issues that go on in Leon County. My name is Nick Maddox. I am Mayor Commissioner at Large. I've been doing so for 12 years. I've enjoyed my time as a county commissioner, and I've worked hard to make sure that we have good quality growth as well as development in Leon County. I want to make sure that as we move forward, that we conquer some of the biggest issues that we have thus far, looking at us right now, which is issues that we've never seen before. With COVID coming around and doing what it's done to our communities, and you see the inflation, we need more economic development. When you see the way our affordable housing looks, we need more housing. When you see homelessness, when you see all these different things come to the table, I believe that you need experience that's been there doing the job. I have not just been sitting in that seat. I have been working hard in that seat to get things done. I've been a consensus builder as well as a leader on issues within Leon County. And I think if you ask any of my other fellow board members, they'll tell you that I do have a leadership style that leads us way to being a part of a team and helping us build consensus and win issues together. And so my motto is together we can. I don't believe there's one thing that we're trying to conquer that we can do on our own. I believe that we all have to come together in order to make things happen. I look forward to continuing to have this conversation amongst the candidates, but most of all, look forward to continuing to serve, and I ask for your support on August the 23rd. Thank you.
And thank you. Am I echoing on y'all?
I don't hear echo.
No? Okay. Well, again, so thank you all for being here. I really look forward to having this super candid conversation. You'll come to find, even from the last one, if you didn't notice, but I really tried to not make it like the traditional forums and really just give us an opportunity to have a conversation, because the point is not for you to race with the better answer, but we're more curious to know who we think about individuals. And I'm not pushing for any particular person, but who we as individuals think have the better plan. And that's kind of what we're trying to get to the bottom of in this evening. So of course, I will have some questions to help guide us along, to help us understand just some of the plans and ideas that you all have. But I do want to just let you all know that we are a big group, so I try not to use a timer, but I do have one. There are some indicators if you haven't noticed already. If you are kind of going a little bit over, I will pull you back from the screen if you are by yourself. If you were talking in a group like this, I'll do something like the church finger, and that's just to give you a little indicator. I need you to wrap it up. But let's just have us a healthy conversation. We are representatives of this community, each and every one of us, and we can have a progressive conversation about how we can improve the community, which may in turn show that we might have to shed some light on some of its negativities. But we understand the more real that you can be, the more better. I think that would help us as your constituents to make better decisions, or as your voters to make better and more informed decisions. All right. So any questions before we get started? Nope. Okay. All right. So I do want to go ahead and start with Mr. Johnson. And this is probably the most traditional question in any form. When you get in office, what is the first thing that you're looking to tackle? So what I like to ask is the first 3 things that you're going to tackle as soon as you get in. And you guys can start preparing your answers. It's going to be a question for everyone. Josh Johnson, please.
The answer for me is very clear. It has been clear since the beginning of this race. And I think it's why on all measurable objectives, we are winning this race. And it's because I have been preaching the gospel of making public investments a more equitable endeavor. When you make public investments a more robust thing for everybody, you lift everybody. Affordable housing is a crisis, and that's because we haven't invested in the home market the way that we should. Small business is a crisis, and it's because when we've had money to invest in small businesses, we've given $27 million to stadiums, right? The urban service area is being expanded so widely and so piecemeally and so irresponsibly that we see an expansion for $80 million on the Northeast Gateway, and the South Side still looks the exact same way it did in 1976. These are no longer embarrassments. They are very visible embarrassments, and they're the consequence, I think, of leadership that has been complacent and deliberate in some ways, but that deliberation has only given us quotes like, it takes a little time, and 30 years pass, or 12 years pass, and a little more time has passed, and nothing is being done for this community. And it's because we are not trajectifying our public investments the way that we should.
Okay.
So that's my biggest issue. Environmental issues as well would lift with equitable investments, public investments.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You all bear with me because I tried to ask questions so we can get a clear understanding of what each and every one says. So it might be a little lengthy, so I'm coming. But Mr. Johnson, so you said public investments. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate where what the source is that's where these investments are going to be coming from?
Well, I'm an economist, and it's public resources. So that could be financial, that could be infrastructural, or that could be social. When we have money in our reserves that it should be used for very particular things, it makes no sense to use them on other things. And so that's the layman's approach to it. When you have resources that you are able to invest in certain communities and the community writ large, you should make them very specifically, and they should go and be prioritized to the people that need them the most. We are not talking about giveaways at all, which is why we have had over 300 donors. This isn't a campaign that's saying give it away to somebody. It's a campaign that is saying, if you're going to give it there, you had better give it there, right? And that only helps us all. As the South Side and the West Side and parts of the inner city is lifted, that is good for business everywhere. That is good for schools everywhere. I'm also a school teacher in the public school system, and it's an embarrassment that in Leon County, one of the most educated regions in Florida, one of the most educated regions in the United States, that we have the most segregated. We have one of the most segregated cities. We have one of the most segregated school systems. This is all the resulting consequence of people giving resources to people that need them very little. And that's no disparagement on the people that are getting them. It's actually a disparagement on the people that are giving them.
And I mean, wow, that's a mouthful. I'm just so tempted. I'm sorry, I have to do this. Commissioner Nick Maddox, what are we missing? Because what is your response?
You know, I would say that I believe that the market drives a lot of things around here, and I think if you're being there for 12 years, I have an understanding of how much so that is. The investments that we've made. I mean, you just finished with Commissioner Proctor in District 1, who just said that there was over $1 billion invested in District 1 over his time in the commission. I can tell you that there's over, I believe, about $50 million or so that's going into the South Side and Frenchtown area from Blueprint, over 17 projects, 14 of which have already started construction. So I think when you think about what we're doing here, I think we are trying to really get the resources out, build the infrastructure necessary so development will want to come in. One thing that I did when I first started getting into office is talk to different housing developers and stuff like that about, hey, listen, why aren't you willing to really look at what's going on in Frenchtown, South Side, make sure that development is happening in those areas just as well as other areas of town. And one thing that they said is that we need to continue to create the infrastructure and the sense of place in those areas that makes the land more desirable for them. And quite frankly, my main concern is really as we continue to do that, as we develop the fairgrounds, as we see the development that's going to happen on Orange Avenue, that we do not create a situation where the folks that are living there are going to be forced out of that area through gentrification and things of that nature. So I believe that all the development and things that we're talking about, that stuff is on its way. The infrastructure is being put in, the investments have been made, and I'm proud of what we've been able to do as a community and the progress that we've had moving forward. And I believe that that what you'll see over the next 4 to 5 years is that you'll see big development come into Frenchtown Southside area that will be a result of votes that happened in the past. Because another thing I like to bring up is a lot of the things, like for instance, when I came to the commission, Cascade Park was just being built. Cascade Park had nothing to do with a vote that I took. Cascade Park had everything to do with prior commissioners' votes. And so we've done things, we've made votes, we put things in place to see us grow. And I'm looking forward to it, actually. Whoever sits in this seat, I'm looking forward to seeing the fruits of our labor of the past and the respect coming for those who made those votes in the past, just like I've given the respect to the ones who come before me. So it's going to be an exciting time.
Well, let me ask you, since you currently hold the seat, Commissioner Maddox, who makes the decision with the budget for your district as a commissioner at large? Is it you?
So at large, what happens is the state, we get a budget every single year. We go through budget workshops. A group of 7 people, there's nothing that any one commissioner can do. We sit down and we evaluate what staff gives us as their budget for us to tear apart and look at and see if we approve of. This year we had over about $9 to $13 million that was extra in the budget. A lot of that budget went to the sheriff, who asked for extra positions and everything and other things to deal with public safety issues. Some of that stuff went to food insecurities and other places. And so we look at that budget every year. We give some to nonprofits in our CHSP process. And so through that budget process, through a vote of the commissioners, a majority of the commissioners, we set the budget every single year. Now, in other areas, is similarly the same thing. So if you're talking about Blueprint, same thing there. The staff will come to us with a tentative budget for the year. We'll take a look at it, make some comments, and then we get to approve it.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that.
Yes, ma'am.
We can go back and forth on this for a minute, but I want to be fair to the rest of the candidates, because they might have some insight in some things that might better answer a lot of the questions that might be coming up. So, Mr. Rudy Ferguson, what's the top 3 things is where we are that you're looking to do once you become elected?
Well, I do appreciate that. And I've listened to both the commissioner as well as the other candidate, Mr. Johnson, in regards to where we stand. And I believe it comes down to leadership. A leadership that you've seen throughout the years. You've seen me, operate when it comes down to public safety. Public safety is first and foremost. We can talk about business, we can talk about growth, we can talk about all of those very important elements to the growth of our county. But if you really look at where we are, public safety should be first and foremost, because we have a lot of young people who are killing each other with guns that they have no business having. And it seems like they're going to the grave and they're going to the prison system. And it seems like it's just being passed over as if these are poor people or undesirables in our community. And I believe that it's important to understand that if people are going to come to Tallahassee, they need to feel safe. If more people are coming to our colleges, our major institutions of higher learning, they need to feel safe. If people are coming from New York and California and all these different places, they want to know that their children are safe. Moreover, we want to make sure that our own children are safe, our own families and our own communities are safe. This has been my long-standing position when it comes down to where we stand. And I believe that all of the things that we want to do as far as our businesses are concerned, as far as our growth is concerned, as far as our schools are concerned, as far as our communities are concerned, it all centers and stands on the shoulders of public safety. It is important to understand that. Now, when you really look at what I am proposing to do, I am not proposing to disband anything, but moreover, expand the things that we need in order for us to be more objective, more precise, more moving in the direction that I believe that our citizens of all directions of the county and the city will feel pleased and be safe in this community. I believe that it's important to understand that where we've come from. If you look at the reports of the anatomy of a homicide, if you look at all of the police reports, if you look at all those things, that would tell you that public safety is very scarce. Public safety is very important. Public safety is at the foremost concerns of all of our hearts and all of our minds. And so that is one thing that I will first focus on is public safety, putting the necessary instruments and tools in place in order to make sure that Leon County and Tallahassee is safe and is secure as we build business, as we bring business in, as we expand enterprise, even the urban service areas. When we do all of that, I believe that Tallahassee can live up to the creed that we've called ourselves for many years, and that is the All-American City. I believe that we can get there with the right leadership in place, with the right person in the chair. I believe we can focus and keep that going forward. So I won't prolong with going through all the details, but I would definitely tell you that you've seen my work. You know what I do. I've been a voice. I've been a face in our community for many, many years. And because I'm 51 doesn't mean I plan on stopping anytime soon. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir. Well, and thank you actually for a lot of the work that you have done. We have seen your work very impactful with the art center that was on Tharp Street, your work at the Urban League. We are very familiar with the work that you do. And so I do, it makes sense, you know, that you're the I guess the top thing would be to be able to assist those, especially dealing with violent crimes, which, you know, we can agree that is something major here in our community. And to start with there first, and you might have said this, but I just want to get it clear. The strategy to start with violent crimes and getting it more safe in Tallahassee, how do you think that's going to impact our community for those who are suffering from poverty, from those who are suffering from illiteracy, and those, you know, stuff like that? How do you feel that with starting with violent crimes is going to get us in the right direction? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
That's not a problem at all. And I thank you for the question, Ms. Joseph. I would say this: poverty, homeless, all of that, you know, it's a corridor, if you will, for crime. All of those situations when people have no place to go, when they don't have a place of belonging, when they don't have a place of being a part of society, this causes crime to become the first and foremost concern. We have people coming to our counties that are spread across the, you know, a non-region county who are coming to Tallahassee because they know that we are, you know, with the capital city and we have those resources. But I believe that if we put public safety first and foremost, people, including everyone on this phone, will feel a little more safe about not just relying on their Ring cameras, about just relying on their alarm system or the police department, but moreover, relying on the good citizenship of people that live here. As the chairman of the Citizens Advisory Council, that is our first and foremost concern. Some people believe that it was about, you know, us checking the police department or monitoring the police department. No, it's the ultimate goal of that council was to bring law enforcement in our most vulnerable communities together. How do we become one? How do we work as one? How do we move as that is so important. I believe that if we can deal with public safety first and foremost, we'll be able to address poverty with jobs. We'll be able to address homelessness with affordable housing. We'll be able to give people who come to this town a sense of belonging and a sense of place. And I believe that's everybody's concern on this call, and the commissioner as well as the candidates. We want to make sure that Tallahassee is safe and secure for all those who come from all over the globe to be a part of it.
Okay, so last question to you, Mr. Ferguson. So when you say public safety, I'll talk for me. I hear the police force, support for the police force. So can you talk a little bit more about what do you mean by public safety? And do you in fact mean that you would support, or I guess enhance, our local police force or bring in a new set of security? How do you see, what does public safety mean to you?
Public safety is all of us, all the young countyans who live here. We all play a role. Now, when it comes down to support for our local law enforcement, what I mean by that as the chairman, what I mean by that us also as a council member for the sheriff department, is to bridge the gap. Because for so long, and most importantly, our most vulnerable communities have not felt safe or secure with local law enforcement. Moreover, they have not trusted them. The goal of my tenure as the chairman and also as a future county commissioner, I believe, to bridge those gaps so that we can work together. Of course, we're going to have people who come in who decide to break the law. We understand that. And then the law must prevail in that capacity. But the law must be fair and it must be precise in order for us to feel safe and secure in this town. Now, when you say support, what I mean by that is support for the good things they are doing. If they are out of bounds and out of line, it's also up to us to bring that into question and to deal with that on both ends. Now, I would say this in closing, is that my job as the chairman is not to back the blue, but it's also not to bash the blue. it is in fact more important for me to bring those two together. So our communities, in particular our Black communities, can have a sense of rapport and a sense of respect on both ends for law enforcement as we deal with the elements that are facing our community negatively. And that's how I mean that. And I appreciate the question.
Thank you. I really appreciate you elaborating and giving
Yes,
us clear insight of your position in that. It's actually really appreciated. And last but not least, we definitely want to talk with Ms. Zumbo. Same question to you. I hope you didn't forget, but I'll just reiterate it again. When you come in, once you become elected, what would be your top priority? First things first, I got to start with this. Oh, I think you're on mute, dear. Hold on. Yeah.
Gets me every time. So there are a couple things that I really want to address that are no different than anything that I haven't already addressed here as a candidate. For example, Nick Maddox, you mentioned reaching out to those investors. I've reached out to those investors, and I've reached out to those investors when their communities don't have hot water for over 2 weeks. I call those investors and I get a call back, and I make sure that those residents have some sort of representation in terms of, okay, are we going to give them a rental discount for the next month? Do they need to be rehoused? Do we need to find a new community for them? So, I mean, that's a basic level, but that is the job of the commissioner right there. I mean, that is the core crux of what needs to be done, is saying this isn't okay. And if you don't do something about it, we're going to have to shut you down. You're going to have to stop this. And that's something that a lot of developers are scared of. Honestly, I think that they're scared of us going in and having a say, but at the same time, these residents don't have the necessary requirements that they quite literally are obligated to have, and you're obligated to give to them. So addressing those issues, number one, in the previous forum, I heard Bill Proctor say we've got some movement here, Lake Munson. That's something I am so absolutely irritated about. I came from a community with lakes everywhere you turned. And I could not say that is something that would have been allowed to go on for this long in a community that services lakes quite regularly. So I think that there are a couple things that need to absolutely be addressed immediately because they're emergency situations. Thankfully, there has been some movement. And I really also want to get done with the healthcare, childcare. We don't have much access to childcare. When the supply is down, the demand goes up and it's more expensive. So we really need to make sure that women aren't going to work all day to pay for the childcare while their husbands go to work all day, so that their wives can go to work all day, and the childcare is still very expensive. That's a huge issue in Leon County. When I was visiting the hospitals at HCA, that's exactly what was asked for. I don't see why we can't put a childcare in a hospital facility. There are hospital facilities around the country that have that as a standard. That's an immediate reason why a nurse isn't going to want to come to Leon County and work in the hospital system when they could go do that somewhere else. So I want to make sure we're not losing our economy, because we won't have that. There'd be no one to enjoy those public infrastructures. There'd be no one to revitalize the economy if they're leaving to go anywhere else.
Well, let me ask you, Ms. Zumbo, because you mentioned housing. I want to be clear that I heard what you said. Hold on, let me bring Mr. Ferguson back in here. And so you mentioned if a landlord or an owner of a property is not doing what they're supposed to do, you'd advocate for your constituent to get them either some of their rent cut or get some type of compensation for their inconvenience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, whether that be a grant from Leon County to find new housing elsewhere. So I really want to work with those developers, because this infrastructure that we're talking about that is crumbling is largely owned by developers, by builders. And I mean, I've lived in apartment communities in the 32304 where our plumbing system was out for the day, and that would happen during very rainy seasons. I've had that happen in 32309. And I've watched it happen all around my neighborhood. And that issue right there is the infrastructure below what's being built on, and who built that. So those codes, those permits, they need to be watched. I've been on these environmental checks that these landlords do. and they're not very thorough, guys. They're not very specific. They don't really they check, but they don't really address fixing any problems that are at present. So I want to make sure that the job of the commissioner is still being held while facilitating all these things that still really have to be addressed. And making sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just want to ask, because you also mentioned about childcare. Now, TMH has a daycare facility for their staff. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with TMH having. I know HCA does not have one.
Gotcha. Right. So, but yeah, so TMH has a daycare facility for, I'm pretty sure their staff are able to put their students, their children there, as well as for parents who are in, that are in the hospital. They're also, I do think they do have a limit. That might be something that, they kind of get full, but I think that's an issue, daycare all across. I don't think that's a TMH problem, just daycares.
No, right, exactly. Like you have one hospital that does and one hospital that doesn't, right? When it should be, like I said, a standard of employment to have that service. If you're a nurse, maybe you're less likely to work at HCA hospital or take a job there versus another hospital in another county. And these are just small examples, but they really represent the issue that all of us are discussing here, is this unsustainable lifestyle that's causing these issues to only grow. And I've been watching it happen for years, and it's very disappointing knowing that this could be so much better. I've lived all over Florida, and I love Tallahassee for that small town feel, but man, there are just some things that are missing that make other areas of Florida just more enticing. And if you lose your economy, there's nothing to grow on. If someone decides they want to leave Tallahassee, Florida, Leon County, what economy are you trying to rebuild? They don't exist. They're gone. And that's another issue. There's missed futures that are happening here. And I want us to definitely acknowledge that from here on out too.
Well, thank you all for your response. And I want to catch up anyone who is now tuning in. We are having a conversation with the the candidates running for commissioner at large here in Leon County. We do have Mr. Josh Johnson, Ms. Dominique, also known as Nikki Zumbo, Mr. Rudy Ferguson, and current incumbent Commissioner Nick Maddox, who currently holds the seat. And we just had a conversation about what their top priorities would be. And Mr. Josh Johnson said his top priority, if elected, would be to put in public investments, to use that to get an equitable access for the developments and the different things that people of the community are looking to do. Did I say that right? I use a lot of words. A little bit there. Okay. But more focused on public investments and where that money is going. That probably be a better way to say that. We did hear from Ms. Zumbo, who wanted to get more benefits for our healthcare workers through childcare, and basically, from what I'm understanding, is wanting to bring in more resources for professionals in our community to have access to, as well as the housing problem in our community, to holding them to a higher standard for those here renting here in the community. We did have Mr. Rudy Ferguson, who talked about the leadership in our community, wanting to provide better leadership and dealing with the violent crimes of our community, making that his top priority. And then, did we talk to you, Mr. Maddox? Did we get your top priority? I'm looking at my notes that way.
No, you didn't. Actually, I just you gave me a rebuttal. But I will tell you that my top priority is continue to work on economic development and making sure that our economic development leads to a decrease in crime and an increase in affordable housing, an increase in people being able to afford houses here in Leon County. Right now, we built a lot. We built a lot up. We had Amazon come to town with $15 an hour for a job that was unprecedented. The amount of jobs at $15 an hour. But the thing we have to work on here is understanding that $15 an hour is not where we need to stop. It's just the beginning of point of where we need to go. And so continuing to set the trend in Leon County with building our wages to a point that people have a livable wage is very important for us as Leon County residents. Continue to put in infrastructure and decrease some of our restrictions and some of our ordinances to make sure that we make it where we are a buildable and friendly community, while also respecting our natural environment. We are a place that loves our trees, and it makes our city more beautiful, one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever seen. And I've been in a lot of places through my football career as well as my professional career. And I'll tell you this: there's no place like Leon County, especially when it comes to our environmental features. Continuing to work on again, we can talk about that public safety piece of it. Continue to work with the sheriff's office and the police department in the city of Tallahassee to come up with plans to combat violent crime. The one thing I have to say is that it's virtually impossible without the assistance of law enforcement for us to go after crime. They are law enforcement, being the sheriff and the police department and other law enforcement arms in Leon County. They are the major way that we combat crime here in Leon County. And so what I like to do is, they're the professionals in the room. I like to rely on them to give me back information of what we need here in Leon County to make this place a place that's safer each and every day. The anatomy of a homicide that the sheriff did was some great information coming back to us. The creation of the creation of the accounts on the status of men and boys, again, is going to be a step forward in the right place. With Royal King being the new executive director there, the organizations around town that we've been able to partner with are that have stepped up to the plate to try to help with violent crime and things of that nature. It's just been amazing. So, just to sum it up, I think the first thing we have to look at right now is how do we build our economic development, how do we build our jobs? How do we build economic development wise to make sure that we're creating jobs, creating opportunity for people to make a wage that allows them to be able to afford a home, a wage that allows them to be able to feel prideful in what they do and not feel like they have to turn to the streets. Secondly, working through sheriff's office to combat that violent crime that we have, as well as the police department, letting them lead the way and giving us the information, and us creating programs based off of the information and building on top of the programs that we already have in CHSP and others that give money to our nonprofits to help combat violent crime and deal with, as Pastor Ferguson said, I think it's a great example. It's not the at-risk, but the at-risk that we're trying to get to is not the kids that come to the programs. It's the kids that are not participating in the programs that we need to get to the most. And last but not least, again, I believe just working with the quality of life here, making sure that we're listening to our citizens and getting the right things done, and just appreciating the environmental pieces that we have here and who we are as Leon County. A lot of people, when I first got into office, talked about, well, what if we become the next Austin? What if we become the next, Memphis or Knoxville, Tennessee? And my hit back to them was, no, I don't want to be any of those places. I want to be the first Tallahassee. I want us to continue to grow. I want to be the first Leon County. I want us to continue to grow, to continue to grow and keep our own character and be true to ourselves. Thank you.
And thank you so much for that. A question actually comes from the audience. Now, you mentioned TPD and the sheriff office working together. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So someone in the audience, I don't know if this will show you, but she said TPD seems to, they refuse to work with the sheriff office to come up with a comprehensive plan to tackle crime. How do you see being able to work with both of them in that current climate? Do you have anything to say to that?
Well, I'll tell you what, we've had, the sheriff is the law enforcement officer of the county. And the special thing that people have to understand about the way that Leon County and the city of Tallahassee works is the sheriff's office, Sheriff McNeil runs his own office. He submits us a budget every year. And we approve that budget that goes to him. The thing about it is, if we don't approve that budget, he can petition the state for us to approve his budget. That's how strong the sheriff is when it comes to law enforcement. Now, the city of Tallahassee is in the police department are kind of different. The police department falls under the city of Tallahassee, and so when they submit their budget, it's at the discretion of the city. Now, I believe that all in one, I believe, is the sheriff's initiative, where he is trying to put us all together to work together. And I think in some places we are coming together as a community to combat crime under that all-in-one concept that the sheriff has. But I believe that we can even go a little further with that. I believe there's conversations between the city and the city commissioners and the county commissioners about how we can work together. I believe that the sheriff's office is trying the best to work with the police department to see how they can work together. As a matter of fact, as I think we all can admit to it, when we had our endorsement ceremony, our interview with TBA, the sheriff's office was actually a part of it. So I see the togetherness coming together and the cohesiveness coming. Now, what a lot of things, again, last thing I'll say is nothing people don't understand is that the TPD has jurisdiction on everything within city limits. The sheriff's office has jurisdiction on everything outside the city limits. Can the sheriff play inside the city? Yes, he can. But there's a little bit of a respect there between the two, where the sheriff's office doesn't like to play in the city's jurisdiction without telling them what's going on. And so just that coordination is more complicated than just the sheriff saying that he's going to do these types of things and not being on the same page with the police department. So it's threading the needle there. I think they're doing well with it. I think the sheriff has good communication with the commissions. He has good communication with TPD. Mr. Ferguson, as Pastor Ferguson, as president of the chairman of the police board, I believe he's doing a good job of making sure the information gets out, and that TPD is working with that council to make sure that the information is getting there. So I think we're all moving in the right direction. We just got to push it a little further. And I don't believe, and I'll say lastly, I don't believe that it's all about resources. I believe that we have to actually get a message out and get our neighbors to help us as well. I saw that church finger, so I'm a hush.
Thank you. I want to give Pastor Ferguson an opportunity. I feel like I see that he kind of wanted to add to that.
Well, no, I don't have anything to add to what Commissioner Maddox had to say. I think that in essence, it's not really good to always agree with the guy you're running against, but nevertheless, I can't disagree with anything that he has said in regards to with the approach that we're taking. Again, so I'm going to just dial back now and just let you go on what you had to go with. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please, Mr. Johnson.
I would like to rebuttal that because the end of the statement was it can't be about resources or all about resources. So when we talked about investments in the first part of this thing, we talked about millions of dollars going into the South Side, when actually that is not true. It's a false equivalency because yes, there are millions of dollars going into the South Side, but when you look through that, they're going to the Don Veller Golf Course, they're going to Innovation Park, they're going to Southwood, and we all know that these are areas that are deleteriously affected by what these investments are injected to cure. And so I think it's disingenuous that we say that it can't be about resources when we haven't tried these resources, right? If we're going to attack public safety as principled concerns, and I guess that is a huge concern, we would have to really tackle the problems that orbit public safety. Public safety and the crisis that we're entering don't exist on its own. It's being orbited by education and by poverty, the two things that I see every day. I'm the teacher of the year. I'm at a Title I high school at Godby High School. I am seeing the young African-American men affected by this the most every day. And to attack public safety without resources, or to attack public safety by saying it stands on its own while not addressing how resources can help education with partnerships and poverty with direct investments, I just don't think gets at the root of the problem. And you can't do anything without the root. That's where the medicine comes from.
Okay. Was that a finger to say, yeah, I want to give Ms. Zimbo an opportunity to add to this conversation?
Yeah. I have a deep respect for what our police officers do every day, because sometimes I'm the person calling them to ask them for their help. As a leasing consultant, community representative, you work with that officer that it lives on the property. It's called a courtesy officer. And they only have jurisdiction in that community for those concerns, right? If it's a separate issue, they might have to reach out elsewhere. So I understand what Commissioner Maddox is referring to, and he says that there are certain boundaries, but making sure that our community is knowledgeable on how to protect themselves. I mean, I've had residents that come in and say, I pay for this gated community, I pay for these cameras, this, that, and the other, and yet this thing still happened. And I say to them, well, none of those things guarantee safety. Safety is never guaranteed. It is also the responsibility of the people who are living in the community. It is part of that All-In initiative. I think we're headed in the right direction that way. Being a liaison between, community resources and crisis mode and community resources on a uneventful day is two different jobs, right? You have to make sure that you know how to get in contact with that officer and address the issue, have them respond, see what the response was, make sure that your community is taken care of, because safety is never guaranteed. Safety, I mean, I've worked in really nice neighborhoods where the rents are thousands of dollars and they still get their cars broken into. So we want to make sure that we understand that these crimes don't just happen in one specific area or another. They trickle out, and they are definitely part of a big issue that is within Leon County as a whole.
Okay, well, I want to ask a question. This question would be to Commissioner Maddox. Do you have data? Do you guys go by any data? Is there any data anywhere to give you all a perspective of what the immediate needs are in the community? Is there anyone collecting information like that?
Yes, of course. Staff comes back. I mean, a lot of our strategic plan is built off of what community needs are, as well as staff brings back everything, something every single meeting that talks about different issues. If it's not on our strategic plan, if people want to know what we're doing here in Leon County, if it's not on Leon County's strategic plan, we're not doing it. And so that is the guiding document every year. It's a 5-year document. Every year we're working to check off boxes to make sure that we're dealing with the things that we need to deal with here in Leon County. I don't really do disingenuous. When the comment was made that the investment is being made, and let me be clear, I said not just resources. We do need the resources, but what we also need is that we need community support and help in order to combat. You can't spend your way out of some of the issues that we have here in Leon County. 14 projects are happening. 17 projects, as I said in the beginning, are happening on the south side of Tallahassee and in our most impoverished areas. 14 out of those 17 are already in process of being constructed. $12 million going to the fairground. Orange Avenue being rebuilt. Look, the investment's there. It's there. The infrastructure is being put in, and we're growing day by day. We're going to see the fruits of the labor of the votes that's happened in the past. But I believe that back to the point of it all is that what you'll begin to see is that if you dig into what Leon County does, every 5 years or so, we create a strategic plan that we work off of to deal with different issues in different places like quality of life, crime, governance, and everything here in Leon County. And we work off that sheet of music until we complete everything on that sheet of music within those 5 years. I think staff does a great job of bringing us things that's based off of that. And of the years that we've been on this system of working off this strategic plan, there's not one time that I believe staff has brought something and not be able to justify it based off the strategic plan that we're working off of.
What are the sources for these data, for the data that you guys are using?
A lot of it is just some of the research staff has done. A lot of it is just based off of prior strategic plans. A lot of it is looking at what the community is saying. It's a conglomerate of things that we use, that we put together to come back with a strategic plan. But I think if the community takes a look at it, I think what they'll see is that it's very representative of what we need here in Leon County to move forward. Now, I'll end with this piece right here. The thing that I think we have to understand and that we must be willing to accept is that the city of Tallahassee governs inside the city limits and has a lot to do with some of the things that are happening within the inner city. We partner with the city on a lot of things to try to help combat those things. But I'll tell you what, I believe the city, when you look at some of the plans, the improvement plans that they have in the Griffin Heights community and the Bond community and the way they're investing those dollars CRA-wise, I even think that they're doing a good job of trying to move in a direction and making an investment in the communities as well. So I'm excited all around about where we're going here in Leon County. I look forward to continuing to serve to make it even better.
Okay. Well, I will say that there has been a consistency from all the incumbents who have said that economic development is their top priority. Is there something happening in the background why all the energy is on economic development for those who currently hold the seat that us as voters should take into consideration before we consider those who want to bring new agendas?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you look at it, we have been largely a college town and a government town for a long time. And a lot of people don't believe that we can change our spots there. And maybe we can't. Maybe that's the base of who we are as a community. But what I believe is that we can add to it. What I believe is that we can build, we can have a Dan Foss Turbo Corps come in and provide some manufacturing jobs that are going to be good paying jobs. We can have an Amazon come in and provide jobs, not just jobs that are $15 an hour, but it can also provide those people who are making $15 an hour with things that they can with a leg up, saying, hey, we'll pay for you to go to college. Once you graduate college, we don't pay for you to still be here. Yes,
Let me stop you right there because someone actually brought up the thought of the Amazon job and the lack of transportation to get to this job.
Yes.
So,
yes, let's
is
talk
there
about that.
anything being done for that?
Yes, of course. I have, when we first had a conversation about Amazon, the city of Tallahassee said they were going to take care of the transportation issue, and they committed to that. And so I think we went down the line and there was a conversation about, well, maybe it may be too much. What I can guarantee you is that no matter what it takes, I will fight tooth and nail to make sure transportation bus-wise happens to that fulfillment center, because a lot of the people that are working those jobs are going to need transportation to get down there. I've gotten commitments from commissioners at the city of Tallahassee, and I'm giving you mine as well. Transportation, being bus service down there is absolutely imperative to the success of that organization, of people who work here in Leon County. They're going to be part of that fulfillment center.
Yeah, I think we all can agree to that. All right, so Commissioner Maddox, thank you so much for your contribution, but I want to be fair. So I want to, you talked a lot about all that we have been doing and all the roles that you have played, which we appreciate. We greatly appreciate the work that you do serve in our community. We can say that we have seen a lot, not just you, but the entire commission force have done to try to improve life here in Tallahassee. But we do want to take some time to talk with the other candidates to talk about this breath of fresh air that they're looking to bring and some of the ideas that they have. So I'm going to work around the room here, work around the screen here and talk a little bit more about the plans that you all have. So Mr. Johnson, you talked about the public investments, and I'm very curious to know about when you say investments. For instance, Amazon is coming, as we just previously mentioned. There are things currently already underway. I know OEV has a lot of projects that they currently have going. How do you feel, if you're focusing on public investments, that whatever investment that you're looking to change or add to, do you see yourself working with what's already currently underway? Or are you trying to create new avenue for investment? Talk a little bit more about what you see in there.
Thank you. So when I say public investments, I just mean the resources that local government and local governance has. And so, for example, when we started, I said that could be infrastructural, social, or financial, right? And so when Commissioner Maddox talks about bringing the community together, that is one of those investments. But you can't say that and say, well, we don't have enough economies. We want to have more local economies than the school. But when you have OEV dollars set aside for economic vitality, you give it to the school in a chunk of 27 million. You can't say that, well, we helped usher Amazon in to give $15 an hour to vulnerable populations when you don't even have public transit going to those places. Now, I want to make something clear, because we've been campaigning for 5 or 6 months at this point. I do respect Commissioner Maddox. However, some stuff cannot be abided any longer, right? And so, again, these are not talking about giveaways. Public investments are the resources that we have at our disposal to inject into vulnerable populations and non-vulnerable populations where it makes sense. I don't see how $27 million going to a stadium crawling out of a pandemic makes sense. I don't see how $80 million to a Northeast project for development that hasn't even really occurred yet makes sense.
One
Yes,
second, let me interject right quickly.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Commissioner Maddox, did you vote for Doak Campbell or against it?
I voted for it.
Okay, all right. So I'll let you continue, Mr. Johnson, for those that didn't know.
Yes. And so when we invest in the communities that need it the least at the times where communities are hurting, that just doesn't make sense. This is actually not some radical approach, even though there is very righteous aspects to it. I am an economist. I understand what we have to do to inject into communities. And if we're giving money in top heavy projects to the people that need it less and say, well, they create the jobs and they're going to bring the jobs in. What happens when the jobs aren't paying what they said it was going to pay? Or what happens when a $27 million investment only gives us 34 permanent jobs like the FSU stadium did? What happens then is the money's gone and the people that are hurting are still hurting. We can look around. You don't have to take Josh Johnson's word for it. You can look around. I've been in Tallahassee my entire life. The South Side has not changed at all. We can say that there's investments that are coming that have happened in the past, but the people in the past said those same things too, and they aren't here yet. People are just saying those things to buy time, and time is out.
Let me ask you a question. Are you for or against gentrification?
I am against gentrification.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
So a lot of members in the community, they are concerned that gentrification is on the cusp for that community. So what are some things that you think you would do if you were in office to prevent gentrification?
There's really only a couple of ways to prevent gentrification, because as cities, so usually what happens is they build up a side of town and the people on that side of town can't enjoy it because they're pushed out for reasons like property tax or neighborhood intrusion or things like that. What you do is you give the people that are there the ability to stay by paying them livable wages, right? We have been talking about $15 an hour for so long that $15 an hour no longer cuts it. $15 an hour is $31,000 a year. How can you live on $31,000 a year when somebody's put a Starbucks right next to your house? The property taxes are about to go up so exponentially that you're going to be forced out. How can you afford to stay in your school district when commerce boulevards are being built and municipal ways are being built all around you? So I'm against gentrification, but the only way that you can stop gentrification is by giving the people that are in these communities all over. This isn't just a South Side issue or a Frenchtown issue. This is going to become a Highway 20 and a West Side and a Lake Jackson issue as well, and all over this county. And you have to start paying people livable wages. And as I said, we've talked about $15 an hour so long that it's not even a livable wage any longer. We are so far behind the curves because of poor public investments that we have made in the past. We can't afford to make those same mistakes going into the future.
When you put your fingers up, Commissioner Maddox, are you trying to say something?
Yes, ma'am, if you allow me.
Okay. In response to Mr. Johnson?
I think I've said enough. But I just want to say a lot of things that we talk about. We have to understand how much of that stuff we can actually do. Right. So when we talk about, let's say we wanted to mandate $17 an hour. Well, I don't think there's something from a county perspective that we can do to our private businesses here. I think we try to work them up to that area. And when we talk about gentrification and how it happens, what happens is speculators they come around, they see what's happening, they see what's coming, and then they raise the prices of property, and it pushes people out. And so I think we have to be very thoughtful as we move forward about how we develop around and making sure also that we can put things in place that policy wise that's possible to try to kind of make sure that as for instance that as rental rates rise that they're notifying people, or that we putting stop gaps in place that says, hey, we'd like for you not to raise your rents but a certain amount. But there's a sense of freedom and liberty there that we just can't infringe on with people. And so it's almost like a partnership that you have with the business community to say, hey, listen, we need your help. We don't want this neighborhood gentrified. One of the biggest things that I believe in is that you shouldn't have to move where you are. You shouldn't have to change your zip code to change your situation. And as we change your situation, Frenchtown should look the same way that it looks now. Appalachian Ridge, it should look better. But the people, when I'm talking about demographic, the people that live there, it should still be brown.
Just to make sure I'm hearing you right, Commissioner Maddox, you're basically saying the ideas they have is not that it's wrong. As commissioner at large, you have to have the capacity to do that. And you're saying as commissioner at large, they don't have the capacity to do that. By themselves.
Some of these, first of all, you have the capacity to do nothing by yourself. That's first of all. But some of the things that we're talking about, we can advocate. You can advocate for from this position, but you cannot make a promise to say, or you can't say that you're going to do something to change it without understanding that we can't mandate $17 an hour. As much as I would like to, we can do it. We can do it for county employees, but we can't tell a private business, hey, listen, you got to do $18 an hour. We don't have. I don't think we have the prerogative to do that.
Ms. Zumbo, what's your response to that?
I feel like I've been saying this from the get-go of the campaign, how little government involvement there is in a lot of these issues that we're discussing. And where I'm coming from is, let's get involved. Let's start finding ways to change the narrative so that we make sure that these things aren't happening, that are this economic vitality that we're referring to for a very long time looks like gentrification. Therefore, how are you going to make sure that that gentrification isn't urban blight on the opposite end, right? So gentrification, I've said this before, and it's a very bold statement, gentrification does not have to be a bad thing. It's the poor practices by local leaders that don't make sure that these things that are happening at a level and a capacity that the people who currently live there can sustain that.
So how would you see your day-to-day life as commissioner different to actually implement what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's about being proactive with all the departments that are part of this county. It's making sure that, this is an example. I was witness to an accident a few months ago, right? And the only reason why these two voters, two citizens, people who invest their lives, were in this accident was because of the rerouting of traffic due to local development. Mm-hmm. That is a huge issue. That is lives at risk. I mean, I've never seen so many cars 3 o'clock on a Tuesday in my neighborhood. And then
so at this point, the accident has already happened. What would you do in response if you was commissioner?
Oh, so I mean, I would do nothing different than I did that day. I made sure I called the officers, the charge officer that day. I said, listen, you've got people getting in accidents. This needs to be documented. This needs to be recorded. This needs to be tracked, because this can't continue. And the longer it continues, the more accidents you're going to have. I called Consolidated Dispatch Agency that day to let them know that that's happening. So to make sure that we're doing feasibility studies when we're building these developments and having this vital, this vivacious community that's hustling, bustling, but we want to make sure it's safe at the same time. Those are things that commissioners should be doing to make sure that their constituencies are protected by the things that they can protect them from. Mm-hmm. And that should never have happened, right? Sorry for my dog in the back. She's just waking up. So I just want to make sure that, I want to take recognition to what Commissioner Maddox says, because there are certain things that we are not capable of doing, but it doesn't mean we should sit around and do nothing. Mm-hmm. That really has to change. And I've seen that over many years of being a community representative in smaller communities around Leon County. So, let's also be very true to ourselves too. Those public investments. What are those public investments? Come up with a public investment that you want to see. A public investment I think everybody wants to see is an ice skating rink. I know that sounds silly, but there's a whole community of people who are desperate for a water park, an ice skating rink. And that brings jobs, that brings entertainment, that brings attraction, that it brings mental wellness at best.
Well, you can partner with which was that? That was Commissioner District, whoever that was. Mayor, yeah, seat 4, City Commission seat 4, Michael Ibrahim. He wants to have a water park, so you guys have to partner together with that. But I saw Josh Johnson's face. His background in economics is like, I don't think that'll work. At least your face said that. I don't know if that's really what you're thinking.
Though. That's the thing. I don't see how that would work when you have a community that it's asking for something that they can partake in, charge vendors, charge guests, have games, have enjoyment in their community.
Let me ask you, how long have you been in Tallahassee, Ms. Zumba?
Since 2015.
Since 2015. So have you ever been to the ice skating rink that's at Tallahassee Mall?
No, I haven't. And that's the thing. That's why we have to have a bigger, like an RDV Sportsplex. I'm not talking small little rink that no one knows or attends to, and that's only open seasonally. I'm talking about a real facility where people can go and it's multi-purpose and multi-use. I mean, those are things that people stick around for, that people invest in, that bring wellness to their communities.
All right, let me give Mr. Johnson a say, because you kind of called out with the public investments and where we're going to put this money. So it's only right that he gets an opportunity to respond to that.
To be fair, my facial expression was not at Nikki's ice skating rink. I think that's a pleasant idea. However, not my idea, but pleasant enough. However, my face was the fact that since I've been in this race, right? Since we've been, quite frankly, with no ego attached to this, winning this race, talking about things like affordable housing and public investments, all of my opponents have been talking about affordable housing. And then when I get on talking the spiel about it, the undercutting is, well, Josh, we can't do those things. Well, if we can't do those things, why did you add them to your platform to catch this wind? We can do something about them. It is not true to say that there's nothing. And to be fair to Commissioner Maddox, he did not say affordable housing. He said the minimum wage, but he did say that. But that was wrapped up in this. We can do things about that, because while you're right, we cannot. Can I go first, Mr. Maddox, and then let you respond to it? While we cannot mandate small businesses to hike their rates up to $17 an hour, we know by all casual, conservative, and liberal trends, when local governments or state governments or federal governments raise their rates, that raises the livable wage of an area. And then the businesses can afford to do that, because Tallahassee, our largest economy, is state workers. If state workers were paid more, don't you think that Snappers Auto Supply could then pay their people more? Well, it's the same thing at a microcosm level to the county. And to say that it's some broad sweeping thing that I'm saying that we can't mandate. I'm a small business owner. I know how hard it would be to pay somebody $17 an hour. I bet you all of the people that I contract with are paid over $15 an hour or at $15. So I agree with what he's saying. What I am saying is that there is so much room to push this issue. And we know when we look at places all over this country, conservative places and liberal places, that if local governments take stances on these things, whether they're financial or social, like women's rights issues or minimum wages or affordable housing, by using public lands to build public housing, that we can drive the narrative on this. I am tired, this is no indictment on anybody in this race, as a general narrative, I am tired of people saying that local government can't drive these issues in order to make the citizenry complacent and to remain complacent themselves. It's not true. And so when people say, what are your public investments, Josh? Well, that's where the imagination and the ingenuity of being a county commissioner comes in, because I can guarantee you we can find something better than $27 million to give to a stadium or $80 million to give to a road.
So I'll let you, I know you wanted to make a comment, Commissioner Maddox, so I'll let you take this opportunity to do so. But afterwards, I want to get to some very direct questions. That area would be more of forum style, where you're only offered about 30 seconds to respond. But I'll let you go ahead, Commissioner Maddox.
A lot of what Josh said is absolutely true. There are other ways that we can advocate, and the thing about it is that the one thing that's great about being on a board of 7 people, pushing all in the same direction, is that we all at one point do advocate for those things. When you talked a little bit about the state increasing the wages for their state workers, we've had that conversation. We've sent letters to the state and asked for that. We even asked for payments of lieu from the state. We talk about working hard to make sure our county employees, we are the ones, we took the mantle under the leadership of Commissioner Proctor this year, and went ahead and pushed our people to $15 an hour, and we're going to continue to push that thing. So you're right. I cannot disagree with you. The way we do it is we push the narrative. We advocate, like I said during my spiel, we advocate for our state employees. We advocate we make ways for our local people to get paid more. We push the federal government to look at, and the state government to look at higher wages, higher than $15 an hour and things of that nature. You lead by example. I think you're absolutely right about that, Josh. But when it comes to that piece about affordable housing. We're doing a lot of stuff when it comes to affordable housing. We're land banking. We're doing all kinds of being creative, inclusionary housing, becoming a policy, and things of that nature. Looking at even how we spend our SHIP dollars, which in the past have been spent mostly on rehabbing houses and stuff like that. Looking at how we can get into rental assistance and using those dollars for building dwellings and things like that, affordable housing in Leon County. So a lot of things we're not just saying we can't do, especially when it comes to affordable housing. We're pushing forward in those things, but the things that we can't do, the things that we're limited to, we try to create a sense of advocacy around it and push for our citizens here in Leon County to make sure they're getting what they need in livable wages and other things. So I agree with you on some points there, Josh, but I did have to point out on behalf of not just myself, but the rest of the commissioners, especially at the county and city level, that we are doing the work, pushing forward and doing something about affordable housing and things that we can do something about. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you so much for that, for all of you all's participation. You all made some very valid and very, really good points here. But I just want to kind of catch up for those who would be new, who's now following the conversation. Tonight, we're talking with the county commissioners, candidates, and the current county commissioner at large, who are basically running for this seat, looking for your vote August 23rd. Please be sure to vote. I want to kind of catch you up on the conversation here because we basically have talked about from Josh Johnson, who said that there's more that can be done at the office, and he wants to bring those skills to there, to not just talk about it, but more so be about it. And Ms. Zumbo just basically said it's just not enough follow-up. It's things that are being done. They both agree that there are things being done, but Ms. Zumbo made the point of saying that it's just not enough follow-up, and that's what she would bring to the table. But Commissioner Maddox is saying, with him, the one experienced in the seat, he's basically just saying that it's not as easy as they make it seem, that it does take a team. It's all the commissioners combined in effort. And so, this seat is a 4-year seat. And so the work that has to get done for any initiative is going to take time and take effort. But Mr. Johnson, as well as Ms. Zumbo, both promised that not only will they do the work, but they're going to make sure that we have results from it. So that's what we're trying to find out today. We're just trying to basically understand what the role takes, but not just what it takes, but who we believe individually. You all will make your own choices, who you believe have what it takes to fulfill this role. So if you have any questions or want to leave any comments, the chat is open. Please feel free to leave that in there. But I want to move this conversation forward. We are winding down to the last leg of this forum. And so I want to ask some more direct questions about you all and your professionalism and your professional preferences. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Johnson. If you can share with me, what advantage do you think you have skill set wise that none of your opponents have that's going to set you apart in this position? 30 seconds, please. I'll Absolutely. Put the church finger up.
What was the last part? Oh, you said you'll lift the church finger up. Okay. Well, I'm an economist. And so the way that we're spending our money, the way that we need to spend our money, I think that I'm right for the job. Every day that I go in my classroom in a Title I school where I'm Educator of the Year, I'm working around the very most vulnerable populations that we have. And I think that I have earned a reputation as a consensus builder. As the president of 621, I not only bring progressive arts communities, the Black community, the education community, and the small business community as the CEO of my own marketing firm that partners with Neighborhood Affairs. I think that my hands are in everything. I have proven that in all of those aspects, I am reasonable and considerate. And in closing, I would just like to say my previous answer, I hope I didn't get too fiery. I'm just passionate. We all come in love.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Zumbo, what advantages do you have skill set wise that sets you apart from your opponents? 30 seconds, please. Oh, you're on mute, dear.
I think if you want to solve the housing crisis, you should ask somebody who's worked in the housing crisis. I think you should be knowledgeable of how fair housing works. I think people need to be brought to awareness of the issues that everyday constituents and people, their neighbors, are struggling with. I've been in these background scenes for far too long to not have anything to say about it. Having worked in trade, government, legislature, lobbying, that's huge. And I know that's huge for the county. Lobbying in the building that quite literally Mr. Maddox is sitting in front of right now, actually. So I've sat in that spot. I know it well. And I sat there making sure that these policies that we're talking about got taken to the people who are going to send our money that way. So I just want everyone to know that there is somebody who's in the trenches, who's getting the information and making sure that it gets relayed to the people that can facilitate changing the things that need to be changed in our community so badly. There needs to be more representation for people who are like me. And I think that when you're doing the job of commissioner, you're representing the people who are voting for Josh, voting for Rudy, and voting for Nick, and voting for myself. Thank you.
Commissioner Maddox, what sets you apart?
Thank you. Quite obviously, I mean, I've been doing this thing since 2010. I think my experience and my leadership style sets me apart. I think if you ask any of my colleagues, I am a consensus builder. I've done that all my time as a commissioner. And I know how to be a team player. I grew up as a team player on football teams throughout the years. And I know how to push the team forward. What I believe is that when it comes down to it, it's not just one commissioner that makes these decisions. It's a majority of us that come together to move our county forward, and being able to build consensus and know the issues. Because quite frankly, I will say this: I know the issues as well. But being able to know those issues, listen to staff, hear the fellow commissioners' points of view, and build with them is invaluable when it comes to being able to sit in this seat. My background also lends itself to being able to serve in this seat as well. I didn't always grow up in a nice neighborhood, or and my life wasn't no crystal stair. As a young man, I knew what it was like to grow up in poverty. I also know what it's like to be able to sit in rooms with the upper echelon of folks as well. So I have a balance there when it comes to perspective that lends itself to being able to make some good decisions on behalf of our electorate. What people will tell you about me is that I'm all around just going to help people. If you call me, or if I see there's a need out there, I solve problems. I am a problem solver. There's no one who's ever dealt with Nick Maddox that can say that they came to me with an issue and I did not help them solve their issue, or at least come to the table with some kind of solutions that they could consider solving that issue. And so moving forward, I plan to continue to be just that, a consensus builder and a leader on our commission.
Thank you. The next question is going to go to you, Mr. Johnson. What challenges do you expect to face once you get into this seat, if elected?
Oh, the challenges are facing us now. We're dealing with an affordable housing crisis. We're dealing with the small business crisis. We're dealing with the workforce crisis. We're dealing with environmental concerns, and some would say a global environmental crisis and climate change. The crises are there. The challenges are there. Who will face the challenges is also here. And so, yes, I do know what those challenges will be. And I believe that by facing them equitably, by facing them deliberately, and by facing them with the interests of the people in mind, we can tackle all that come to us.
Thank you for that. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Zumbo, what would you say that would be the challenges that you would face if elected?
I think the challenges is making sure those developers keep their rental rates low, and to make sure that the property management companies that they hire are practicing fair housing laws. It's to make sure that if there's a resident concern, it's addressed immediately, not put on the back burner until it's become of a dire importance. That's huge in Leon County. We put issues to the back burner quite a bit. And it's making sure that constituents are taken care of no matter what the need is, big or small. And that's why I mentioned that ice skating rink, because it's those things that brings communities together. It's a place where people can go. And I want to make sure that all constituents are able to access that, and that these facilities are ADA compliant. There are too many issues that I would address immediately, but the ones that are at the most concern are the ones that are costing quality of life such as like Munson, environmental issues and housing and mental health.
Thank you for that. And I'd like to ask the question to you, Commissioner Maddox. What are some challenges that the other opponents are underestimating that your office holds?
Yes, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is twofold. One is, again, diversifying our economy, not necessarily trying to get away from who we are as a college or as a state government town or government town, but creating opportunities or pockets of opportunities like Danfoss Turbo Corps or a Amazon, getting those businesses in town, becoming quality of life attractive enough for them to want to come to town. And then I think right now, and Josh talks about this a lot to his credit, comprehensive plan wise, as we move forward, looking at this, as we're looking at our comprehensive plan again, looking at how we're going to grow, because over the next 20 years, Leon County is looking at 100,000 more people. 100,000 more people will be here in the next 20 years. How are we going to house those people? How are we going to create jobs? How are people going to have jobs? There's so many issues that are going to come with that. And the good Reverend, if he was here, and I'll say this: as we grow, how do we continue to combat violent crime and crime here in Leon County? How do we work with our sheriff's office? But all in all, the biggest issue that we conquer every single day as a county commissioner, city commissioner, or any elected official is how do we all get on the same page to work together with our resources to conquer these problems? There's no way one branch of government is going to get any of this stuff done. We're all going to have to work together. How do you build that consensus? How do you be the leader in the room that has the answers to building that consensus? That issue is so vitally important as we move forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. I kind of told on myself. I didn't run the timer, so sorry. His was a little longer, but thank you for it either way. Thank you all for understanding. My next question back to you, Mr. Johnson, is if you can give the people an idea of your leadership style, how would you paint the picture of what your leadership style is like?
My leadership style is, as you can tell, very passionate, but a consensus builder. And I'll just give this little anecdote. In 2016, when I ran for the House of Representatives on issues at the state level that I thought were deleterious, like criminal justice reform and all of that, I ran against a very popular Loran Osley, who is a friend and a Democratic candidate, and I primaried Loran. And then the Republican in the race, Jim Messer, who is a Tallahassee institution in his own right, as a local attorney at a huge law firm, Farmville, Lewis, Foote, and Messer. Well, now it's Farmville, Lewis, Foote, and McConaughey, I think. Anyways, after that run, the young man, myself, wanted letters of recommendation to my PhD program. Both of those people offered. Both of those people gave me stirring recommendations. I am not a person who fights from the fringes. I am a person who knows how to build consensus. I am a person who is knowledgeable about the consensus that I'm building. I know how to give a little, and I also appreciate taking a little. It is a give and a take. And so we have to fight for these issues, and we cannot always live on the side of sacrifice. Sometimes we have to pull things over to the side. And sometimes that will mean, District 4 looks a lot different than District 1. Not only do I understand that, I love that and appreciate that. And different things are going to be done. Different decisions will have to be made. I am not a person that is in the business of getting in the way of that, but I am a person who's in the business of advocating for also other things that need to happen.
Thank you. And same question to you, Ms. Zumbo. Can you share with the audience your leadership style? Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
All right, I think this thing's battery's dying. Every time I'm addressing a resident concern, I do not stop until that concern has a resolution. And I've been doing that for years across Leon County. I am the person you call when you need access to resources, access to care, access to housing, access to information about all the things that Leon County residents have been struggling with for many years. And I will continue to do that after this election as commissioner or otherwise. I don't think the job is done at the end of a campaign. I think the campaign is a very small preview as to what the job should be. I hope one day to be in that position so I can facilitate change and take all the concerns that I've heard over the years and make them into policy and make them into the Leon County that we all came here to live in or have lived in our entire lives. Let's bring everyone together so that we can have a Leon County that works for everyone rather than just the person who isn't sure about Leon County. Leon County is the place to be in my eyes. And it pains me every time I watch somebody leave who doesn't feel that way, or their concerns aren't addressed, therefore they have to go somewhere else. And same for the residents that have been here their whole lives. Thank you.
Thank you. And can you share what your leadership style have? I think you told us a little bit about it earlier, but I'll give you an opportunity to elaborate.
I'm a team guy. I'm a consensus builder. What I believe is that everybody has something to offer to the conversation. And that's what I've enjoyed most about this forum that you had here today. It's been an open conversation. And you know what? The thing about it is, if you listen to everyone that spoke today, everyone had a tidbit that could make Leon County better. And I don't believe that I'm right. I don't believe that Josh is right. I don't believe that Dominique's right. What I believe is that we all have a point of view that we can put together to create something special. And that's the way I lead as a commissioner. That's the way I lead in the community, is understanding that, hey, there's no such thing as a bad idea. There's no such thing as a bad thing to say. Let's hear what you have to say, and let's all put our ideas on the table, put them together to create something special. That's one thing I love about the election process. Is what you get is that you get a Josh Johnson, you get a Dominique Zumbo, you get a Rudy Ferguson, all talking about the same issues. And what happens is, if we all admit it, if we're honest with each other, we all each have some good answers. I mean, we all each have leadership styles that could lend itself to the office. But the thing is that whoever moves forward, don't be so bullheaded to not take some of the things that you hear today and take them into the office. Because what you heard here today is some good content. What you heard here today, even though some things may be different when it comes to what we said, is some things that if we consider all standpoints, we consider all opinions, we'll get to a very good answer. And that's the kind of leadership methods that I like to use in saying, hey, we're all right. There is no wrong. We're all right. And we can get there if we work together, because together we can. I believe in that.
Thank you for that. And it sounds to me, we all can kind of carry hope. If Commissioner Maddox is reseated back in office, at least you all know he's hoping to work with you guys, even in office. So security there. And I'll also give Commissioner Maddox that too, because even when he was in office, I myself and some colleagues of mine, we met with him. This was years ago. I don't know if him and his assistant met with us. So with some ideas we wanted to so at least I can share that for you. I don't want to put any preference, but I will give credit where credit is due, and I will take Commissioner Maddox. My next question is about major accomplishment. Tell me about a major accomplishment that you're proud of, that you feel with that experience would help you in office if you are elected. Again, I'll start with you, Johnson.
So we were asked this question in another forum, and I gave the same answer. I really do hate to catalog achievements, but I have had quite a few. And so I guess if I've had to pluck from one of them, at this season in my life, the one that falls on me the heaviest is the fact that I was, and I think one of the only people who received Educator of the Year and was nominated Teacher of the Year in the same year. Educator of the Year is Community Impact. Teacher of the Year is Classroom Impact. I think that those two things in themselves show that this is a person that is boots on the ground in the community and is also bearing fruit for a future generation to do the exact same thing. And I have carried those sentiments into every walk of life that I have, whether it's the president of 621, the owner of Stevenson Johnson & Johnson, right? The school teacher, adjunct professor. I believe in work. And I think that maybe that accomplishment for this conversation is the most appropriate.
Thank you. And that same question, before I ask you that question, Ms. Zimbo, I think we're all coming to the end, but we have a little bit of time left. And there's a question that came from the audience that is directed to you. I'm going to put it on the screen so you can see. But there, a member of the audience is curious to know about your lobbying and legislative experience to Ms. Zumbo. You kind of mentioned a little bit about it when you said you rallied outside of the location of where Commissioner Maddox is. So if you want to elaborate a little bit more on your experience from that perspective. On mute.
All right, I switched over to the keypad. All right. I want to clarify, I did not lobby or did not rally outside of that building. I worked in that building for a lobbying firm that is a reputable lobbying firm that serves a lot of the counties around the state of Florida and has a very robust client list, and make sure that a lot of counties around Florida gets the funding that Mr. Maddox would be commissioned to request. So that's an experience I'm very proud of. I learned a lot there. But what I'm most proud of in this community is all of the residents that I've attended to over the years. The residents that I've helped facilitate housing for, jobs for, friendships for, events for, concerns during hurricanes, being the first person they speak to in an emergency situation, the relationships that I've built here in Leon County that do make me very qualified for this job, being a good steward of representing individuals who don't have much of a voice in their communities or are very underrepresented. As Commissioner Maddox said, there is no concern here that is too small. And there needs to be more representation for those concerns, because when people are not being heard, things are not getting done. And that's what you see around town. You see when things are not getting done. So I'm someone that gets things done, and I do that for the residents of Leon County. And I've been doing that for many years. I'd hope to continue doing that.
Thank you. And last but not least, I want to ask you, Commissioner Maddox, same question. But this is, an opportunity for you to kind of share about the major accomplishments that you've been able to achieve while in office.
Yes. One of the ones I'm most excited about, and there's some things going on and some problems being fixed, but Orange Avenue Apartments being reconstructed and creating a better situation for the folks who live in those apartments is absolutely one of the biggest accomplishments I've had thus far. When I got into office, is one of the things that I saw. I mean, I think I went over to Springfield or the Joe Louis area and had an opportunity to walk in one of the dwellings, and I saw it, and I just thought to myself, I really want to create a situation where the folks there be able to live in an apartment or a building that looks updated and not like they were back in the 50s. And so being able to see construction happening on Orange Avenue is absolutely amazing. Looking at also Appalachia Parkway, what we were able to do out there. I was one of the catalysts that looked in us creating the cross country track out there that has brought national attention to Leon County and tourism dollars there when it comes to the things that we're able to the competitions that we're able to bring to town. And then overall, I think even outside the state, I'm known as a leader. I was Florida Association of Counties Presidents, which is a 67 county organization where all commissioners in the state of Florida that are part of, they thought enough of my leadership style and enough of the way I handle myself policy-wise to elect me president of the organization. And so I think that's a pretty huge thing for me, and I enjoyed the opportunity to serve as the president. In fact, I have been three vice chairs and two chairs of the commission in my time as a young commissioner, and I look forward to continuing to serve. And even in the community, last thing I'll say is the MWBE. We had a conversation about moving from an SBE to an MWBE. I fought hard for us to keep our MWBE status, and not only that, once we decided we would keep it, I fought with the chambers, the minority chambers, to bring forth a 10-point plan that looks at ways that we can grow minority business here in Leon County in the future, and a lot of those things are being implemented right now. So those are just a few things I've done. I'm so excited about my time, and I'm excited about continuing to serve if the citizens of Leon County see fit.
Thank you for that. And I mean, that actually concludes my questions, but I do have one last question I want to ask everyone. This question is really coming from me, but I think it's an interesting question. And I want to know, what kind of Tallahassee do you see? If you were in office, what kind of Tallahassee would you be trying to create? I'm going to start, just keep the rotation going. Start with you, Josh Johnson, and I'll take it around.
7 generations we've been in this place. Lake Jackson is where my family is from. Tallahassee is a lot more to me than a city, and Leon is a lot more to me than a county. When I look around and I see the trees, some of my earliest memories are frolicking in the waters of Lake Jackson. The streets that I drove on, the canopy roads that are just a national treasure all over the United States, downtown. When I look at these things and I see that some of them haven't changed at all, and some of them have changed for the worse. I know it seems like political jargon, but it really does upset me. It upset me enough to do things like this. It's upset me enough to be very public about it in the past. And so the type of Tallahassee and Leon County that I want to see is one that keeps and maintains its character while also growing, because the other candidates are right. Leon County is going to grow. We're getting 100,000 people in the next 17 to 20 years. That's an absolute true fact. And so we're going to grow. But how we grow is important. And if the citizens of Leon County don't have a say in how we grow, then I think that growth is in vain. We cannot become a place that has a developer class, right? Developers are not inherently evil. I hope nobody thinks that I've said that. I understand that developers are our neighbors. Developers go to church with us and go to school. I teach kids that have developer parents, but nobody can be prioritized over anybody else. And when we find a Leon County that works for everybody, together we will.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Ms. Zimbo, what kind of Tallahassee do you want to see, you plan to create? Or I guess you can't make promises, so I won't ask you that, but the original question, what kind of Tallahassee do you see if you were in office?
I see a Tallahassee where everyone can come and enjoy, but also not want to leave. Or, I have people who don't live in Leon County, don't understand why I still live here. And every day I tell them this place has so much to offer for all of its residents. It just needs to make sure that those communities they have that little extra love and attention. There's been too many times where I have friends that are just leaving here because they can't find jobs that'll pay them enough to live and pay their own rent. They can't find housing. I don't want to lose the economy that Leon County currently has. But I also want to make sure that we're prepared for the influx of people that are coming, because we are so great. I don't want anybody to come here and be disappointed. I want them to see a future here. I don't want them to just see 4 years, because when people make things temporary, they don't treat them as good as they should. But I want to change that. I want people to see that Tallahassee should be well preserved while they're here, if they stay. So I want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. And like I said before, that includes the people who vote for Josh. That includes the people that vote for Nick and vote for Rudy and vote for me. Because it is one Tallahassee. It is a place that we all want to be because we are here, and we should treat it as such.
Thank you. And same question to you, Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you. I like to see Leon County without barriers. What I've thought of and what I've spoken on in prior engagements that I've had outside of forums is I want to see a Leon County where people in District 4 come down to District 1 and have the cultural experience there. I want to see the same Leon County where people in District 1 go up to District 4 and again enjoy the cultural experience there. I don't want us to recognize the fact that we are different districts that are bound by lines that we call districts. I want us to recognize each other and see us all as one Leon County. That's Leon County I envision for the future. I also envision Leon County where like today, where we opened Joe Ellen's, which was the first African-American restaurant to be opened downtown. I want to envision Leon County where that happens over and over again, where it's not just something, a special occasion, but where our African American businesses are running rampant all across our community, whether it be north side, east side, west side, south side, they're all over. I want to envision Leon County where the kids who live in District 1 are able to live and have the same infrastructural advantages that the kids that live in District 4 and 5 and 3 and 2 have. I want to see those communities look the same from that standpoint. I want to see a Leon County, I see a Tallahassee where crime is a little bit less. But we we invest in our children, and we teach our children as a community, that we teach our children that life is valuable, absolutely valuable. That any life lost is a life that's too many that is lost. Josh has said it over and over again, and I believe in it as well. But I believe that we're already looking at the equitable distribution of public funds. I want to continue to see us do that and work on it even more moving forward. There's not a bad idea that you heard amongst these candidates, but one thing that I have to say that I'm looking forward to Leon County and building is one Leon County, not just where all neighbors care about each other. When Josh talked about us being the most economically segregated community, it shouldn't just be a concern of one part of the community. It should be a concern of every part of the community. When 32304 is the most impoverished area, those who live in the richest area should care about that. And I want to see a Leon County moving forward where that thing happens and we all come to the table to have a conversation about it. I don't care if you got $1 million or $10. The issue of that $10 person should be just as important as to that $1 million person, because that is your neighbor. That is the person that lives in your community, and we should all care about each other at that level. And so just a Leon County that embraces love and togetherness and oneness is what I'm looking forward to building here in Leon County, Florida.
Thank you so much. Well, that does wrap up our time for this evening, and I'm so happy we had an opportunity to have this conversation. It doesn't stop here. We're going to cut this stuff up and we're going to distribute it around the community. So we're going to make sure your messages all are heard. Do y'all plan on coming to the Millennial Mingle on Thursday?
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. I look forward to most events because I enjoy meeting people. So thank you so much for hosting that. I can't even tell you how many times when I worked as a leasing agent that these events that I would host, these little mingle parties, would really bring happiness to the people that live here just because they get the chance to meet somebody new or have a new experience. So thank you. I'll be attending for sure.
Thank you guys for coming. Josh, you have
it's
time?
It's from 7 to 10, right?
Yeah, it is 7 to 10, but I mean, we're going to keep it open to play music if anybody want to stay a little later.
Absolutely.
The actual interactive part is 7 to 10. Yes, guys. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Can I count on you guys to share the flyer?
Yes. Can I just say, and I don't know how the rest of the other candidates feel about this, but the open conversation that you allow us to have in this forum has been by far one of the best forums I think we've participated in so far, because we've been able to have a conversation with each other, and I really appreciate that. It wasn't one of those things where you got 2 minutes to say what you got to say, so you try to stuff it all in 2 minutes. You actually get a chance to talk to one another and have a conversation, man. That's been the amazing part. And if you do this in other election cycles, or if you do this in the primary and in the general, please don't change that, because I think we all find some value in that, and I think people listening find value in that as well.
Thank you so much for saying that. It really means a lot, because actually we were trying to create a timer and it was too much to put the timer in and keep everything smooth. And I was like, you know what? Let's just talk. So I really appreciate that feedback, and I'll take that with us to continue on. I find that it is a little different from the other candidate forums. So I like having that unique attribute. So thank you again for that. Okay, so I'll give you all just 60 seconds to make an appeal to the community, to say why you feel that you would be best fit for the position, or just why they should vote for you. And then I'll let you guys go to enjoy your evening. So thank you so much, Commissioner Maddox. I know you out in the community, you out doing stuff, and you took the time to be with us this evening. So thank you again for your time as well. I'll let you go first, Ms. Zumbo, lady first.
I definitely never want to diminish the efforts of all the candidates that we have. I think that every one of these candidates has what it takes to represent their communities well, because they have done a phenomenal job so far. And that's a lot of the reason why I want to run too, is I have a group of people that are looking for assistance and better representation in their communities. A lot of times you find me out with the people, with the community, talking to people, asking them about their concerns, getting information that I could use to better help them later on. So it's not really just a, hey, vote for me. It's more of a see the representation, see the outcry, see the request for and the need for assistance for the people that may vote for any one of these candidates, and just make sure that your vote is placed. Please do not forget to vote. Do not neglect to vote. A lot of employers give you time off to go vote. If you didn't know that, definitely look into that. So just make sure that you go get your voice heard on August 23rd. Thank you.
I think you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Next up, Josh Johnson, please.
Oh, okay, absolutely. I usually end these one way, but my heart's been touched to close out in another way today. I mirror the sentiments of Ms. Zumbo and Commissioner Maddox, that not only has this forum been incredible, it has given us a chance to spar right in the arena of political ideals and social ideals. And so I appreciate that. But one thing I think is lost on people, and this is in no way to make us victims, because we are all fortunate that when you look at all the fundraising, and we've been blessed in that area, and the endorsements, we've been blessed in that area. But campaigning can sometimes be a solitary endeavor. You spend a lot of time alone, a lot more time than people would think. And one of the thoughts that have been coming to me the most in that time is appreciating the small things while working on the big things. And so I would like to close a lot like Commissioner Maddox's last statements and just say thank you to this organization and to you, Ms. Joseph, for interbreeding those things while letting us deal with small things and large things alike. We're going to continue to do it. It has been a great joy. My campaign, just speaking for me, has had such an outpouring of support from this community that I now see it as a job to not just serve and not just lead, but to keep my word on everything that I've said on this campaign trail. And so that is the mission. That is the goal. That is the objective. We will do it. We will do it. Thank you for having me. Josh Johnson. I will also leave my contact information in the chat for anybody who would like to reach out to me. I'll leave my personal cell phone number, website, and social medias, just because I believe in being accessible to the community, and I will continue to do that. And thank all of my opponents for being here. I even hate the word opponents, but thank all the other candidates for being here. And again, thank you for having us.
I did it again. Sorry. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed you all's conversation, and I'm going to give the last minute to Commissioner Maddox. I'm sorry, Rudy Ferguson, we lost him earlier, so I'm not sure what happened, but if you guys are interested in seeing, following Rudy Ferguson, feel free to reach out to him. Their information is all public, guys, so you can contact him, but right now, let's yield the time to Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you. I just gave you a compliment talking about how you didn't put us on the timer. You're going to give us a minute to get out people to vote. Come on now. You're going to go wrong when I just told you was doing right. No, I'm
sorry.
No, it's all good. Look, first of all, I want to thank you guys for dealing with me. I'm actually at Joe Ellen's, the place I was just told you just opened downtown. It's my office away from the office. I thought it was going to be a little quiet in here so I could do it in here, but they got a lot of business today. They just opened today. So let me go ahead and put a commercial out there for them. If you want some good fried chicken and good fried catfish, man, come on down to Joe Ellen's right where the Challenger Center is, right downtown in Clayton Plaza. It's absolutely amazing. again, I've enjoyed listening to us all have discourse back and forth about how to make our community better. And I look forward to continuing to work hard on the commission. And I think one thing that I think if there's anything that I would like for folks to really consider when they think about Nick Maddox is considering the fact that I've done the job and I've been there. I've always made the decisions that everybody agree with. Probably not. But I think for the most part, I have done a good job by our commission, and I look forward to by our citizens, and I look forward to continuing to do a good job in the past. And I would love to have everyone's vote on August the 23rd. But one thing I want to stress right here today is that what you saw today, and I think what you see in this commission race that you may not see in the others, and this is no hit on anybody, but you got some strong candidates here. I have gained a huge respect for Josh and the way that he's going about his campaign. Rudy as well, Pastor Ferguson as well, and Ms. Zumbo and the way some of the issues that she's brought forth. Again, there has been no bad information given here, and I think the things that we're talking about will all move our community forward. And whoever wins the seat, I hope they take pieces from what we've talked about in our forums and how we move forward as a community and how they govern as they sit in this seat. But I think I'm the right one. I do. I think I'm the right one. I have the experience. I've done the job well, and I look forward to continuing to serve as County Commissioner at Large, Group 2 here in Leon County. And thank you again for a most enjoyable forum. This has been absolutely awesome. You have a talent for doing these things, and you should tout yourself as such. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate the compliment. Again, I thank you all for taking the time to be here this evening. So I'm just going to run a few commercials just to thank those who have supported us this far. And I wish you all well in your race to the seat. I've probably said this already, but I'll just continue to say it as much as I can, that I hope your servitude is not limited to this race, and that you all just continue to serve our community, because the need is great. It's not one person or one seat that can get this stuff done. It's definitely all of us collectively working together. And I'm very happy to see that so much of you all, not just in this running for this seat, but really for the entire race as a whole, all these people who has a heart to serve and build and contribute to the greatness of our community. So thank you again for taking this step, investing your dollars in your campaigns the way that you guys have, and just wanting to serve your community the way that you have as well. So I wish you all a great night. And yes, we will take you up on that offer. We're very happy to hear about Joe Ellens. So thank you for sharing. And I wish you all a good night.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So this wraps up our second to last night. We have Tuesday night and Wednesday night to complete it all. District 2 is tomorrow. Leon County Commissioners District 2 is tomorrow, and that is just a full pack. I mean, there's probably like 8 people or 7 people to be exact running for that seat. So I'm curious to know, what is that all about? What is going on in District 2 that so many people want to have this seat in particular? And then last but not least, we have District on Wednesday, we're going to have City Commission seats. We'll be doing District 3, for an hour. And then we have City Commission seat 3 with Jeremy Matlow and Dr. David Bellamy. And then that evening, we're going to speak with seat 5, City Commission seat 5. The incumbent in that seat is Diane Williams Cox, and all her opponents are going to be there. So Shelby Green and Adner Marcelin, talking with them about what plans they have and who we think at least would be best fit for that position. So I hope you all continue to stay with the programming, and you'll be back right here tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the way that you have. I want to remind you all that the Millennial Mingle is still live in effect. Signature Lounge is the new hangout place for professionals, and we're hosting our interactive event at that at Signature Lounge on Orange Avenue. Community Builders' mission is to increase business activity in low economic neighborhoods. So Signature Lounge was the most ideal place to host it. I walked inside of it. I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to go in there yourself, but it is so spacious. The AC feels good. The music is in the perfect place. The stage is in the perfect place. The bar is in the perfect place. It has a full kitchen. It has everything we need for us professionals to go in, be comfortable, and have fun. So I look forward to hosting a super interactive and a very fun evening. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have music. We're going to have games. So it's just going to be a real classy way to meet new people. So if you're in it to meet new people, you don't want to miss this event. Tickets are already on sale. Visit our website, www.communitybuilders. I'm saying that all wrong. That's our old email. So www.buildingstrongcommunities.net is our new website with all the information. And if you have questions, you can contact us there as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you all have a great night.
The other side said we're too radical. Because we believe everybody should have access to health care.
Because we think one job should be enough to pay your bills. Because no one's future should be determined by a zip code.
We're called too radical because
We don't want to be shot dead by police.
Because we believe making a profit out of caging people is wrong.
we're too radical because we want our public schools funded. Because we want to learn our true history.
They call us radical because we think voting is a basic human right.
Because we were born to immigrant parents.
Because we are immigrants.
They say we're too radical because we want an end to war.
We want to be safe.
Because we want to be free. And if wanting basic rights makes us too radical,
I'll be that.
Founded in April 2012 after the tragic killing of Trayvon Martin, today we are the ones organizing Black and brown youth to build power in our communities to advance a new vision we have for the state. Our agenda is called the Freedom Papers. Through it, we are advancing our vision of safety and security away from prisons, deportation and war, and towards healthcare, housing, jobs, and movement for all. We are the ones organizing to ensure that we live in a free democracy that is for us, by us. Our call to action is for you to join the Tallahassee Dream Defenders, one of the chapters in the state of Florida, to ensure that we are advancing our vision and a movement for all. Stay connected with our social medias and stay up to date with anything regarding Dream Defenders on our website at dreamdefenders.org. Now, the question is, can we dream together?